Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the bLU Talks Flip Your Script Experience virtual stage. I am so excited to be here today. Today is day 2 of a week-long event. We are hosting this event from 11 to 2. This is like our 5th or 6th bLU Talks Flip Your Script event. My name is Elise Rothman, and I'm your host. And I am the founder of Flip Your Script Coaching. I've had the pleasure to partner with Corey Poirier, the founder of bLU Talks, and we've come together and created this virtual platform where we are interviewing thought leaders from all over the world that have flipped their script. What that means is they have taken a time in their life and they have flipped their perspective, and they are now helping others do the same. We have co-host Susan Binney with us today. Hey, Susan, how are you?
Hey, I'm great. So glad to be here.
Yes, I'm going to have you share a little bit about yourself before we get into our guest right down here below, Tony LaPrino. But Susan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm an empowerment coach, and I started my journey about 6.5 years ago, or about 55 years ago, depending on how you want to look at it. My daughter was born with a disability, and the word can't was put in her world. I helped her take it out of her world. So to a point where you wouldn't even know she had a disability, right? Because it's all about saying what you can do and then living with it. I took it out of her world, but I didn't take it out of mine. Story. Yeah, I took it out of her world. I didn't take it out of mine. So I've relearned, that I can take it out of my world, and if I can take it out of mine, I can help anyone else reframe their story, rewrite their story, and just live the life they want. So that's who I am.
We're going to be the perfect trio because now here we have Tony LaPrino. Tony, I had the opportunity to take a little sneak peek on your social media and on your website, and you're pretty much a powerhouse. I already see you. I told you when I saw you backstage that I thought I was ready, and I had to get I feel like I'm already dressed and ready to go get my workout on and get my nutrition on. But it's so great to have you here today. So can you tell us a little bit about who you are and where you are in the world? I like to start there, like who you are. Are you a dad? Are you married? Where are you living in the world? Let's get personal.
Sure, absolutely. And thanks for having me. I really do appreciate it. And thanks for the intro. As a powerhouse, nobody's really called me a powerhouse before, but I kind of like it.
And you showed up and you got the microphone and you're owning it. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, we're ready to go. So I'm up in Maine. I'm in the States, and I'm in Maine. And if you haven't been here, it's further north than New York. All right, there is more to the U.S. than further north of New York. So I'm about halfway up. I live in Bangor, Maine. Been married for 15 years to my wife, Stephanie. We have 2 daughters together. One is 14 and is a freshman in high school this year. And my youngest, Emma, is 11, just turned 11, and she's in 5th grade. So,
dude, you don't even look old enough to be married 15 years.
I'm 41 years old, and I can't wrap my mind around it. Like, I don't feel like I belong in the 40 club.
Okay, well, you don't look like you belong in the 40 club, so you could probably sneak back into the 30 club.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool.
So it's on Ascent. Oh, Ascent. I was trying to on Ascent. Okay, so on Ascent, tell me a little bit about. Obviously, that's your company, but before we jump in there, I like to know, there's got to be a story. We all show up because we have a story, and I intermittently share my story, so you all get it if you come back and listen over and over again, because if I sat here and told you my story, it would take forever. However, so what inspired you first? What do you do, and what inspired you to take action?
Sure. On Ascent really came into fruition. It was really more of a reminder for myself, is every single day you're on the ascent of life and continuing to climb life's mountain. And how it really, all came to fruition in 2017. I found myself in a place where my life wasn't working, and I was in a really, really dark place, and I couldn't wrap my mind around why I was there, why I was having the thoughts I was having, why I was feeling the way I was feeling, why did I feel so disconnected in my marriage and in my business, why was this all coming all together, and it just wasn't working. And it wasn't what I had imagined or put into my perspective on how I wanted my life to be. There had to be more. And that was the big question, is like, I know that I'm destined for more. I had 2 six-figure businesses that I was running. I had everything that a guy could want, but there was something missing. And I couldn't put my finger on it, but that's really where I went searching, and I went searching for answers as to why my life wasn't working and why did I feel so disconnected, why I was having these thoughts and these feelings and all this stuff that was happening. And that's what really started the journey. And how the piece of, the nutrition and the health and all that stuff
Oh,
really
so that's what you do? Because our
came
guests don't
about.
know
Yeah,
that.
I'm a high performance health coach, I would say, if you put it in an umbrella. Really heavily focused on behaviors and nutrition, and taking care of your body temple. And really how I really fell into it myself. I struggled with alcohol and addiction to drugs back in all the way up, basically since I was a junior in high school, sophomore in high school. And in 2017, like I said, I hit that wall, and something had to give and something had to change. And the health part really just happened. And how it happened is I had some friends that I was going to the gym. I was just a pretender. I would eat the way I wanted to. I would still drink on a daily basis, smoke pot on a daily basis, and I'd go to the gym just to pretend that I was doing something right. Okay. And some friends of mine challenged me to do a half Ironman, which is a 70.3, which means it's a 1.2 mile swim, 56 miles on the bike, and then running a 13.2, whatever a half marathon is. And granted, at the time, I couldn't run more than 3 miles without feeling like death was going to come upon me. I didn't know how to swim, and I didn't even have a bike, but I signed up for it anyway. And I said, you know what the heck, let's go for it. So it was along that way where I made drastic changes to my diet. And it was really just to finish this Ironman race. But what I realized and what really came to fruition in this entire part of changing my entire life, was I kicked the addiction to alcohol and drugs. And I experienced what it felt like to have a clean, cleansed out body. And the weight was just, it
And
makes
mind, right?
oh, it was, it's so hard to even describe the clarity that I had, the power that I had, the energy that I had. My entire life changed, and it was in a very short amount of time, and I haven't looked back. So on Ascent focuses on 4 main pillars in my life, and it's faith, family, fitness, and finance. And people come into my world under the fitness realm, and we take care of the body temple. And I just teach and show people really how to become the 1% elite. And it's just sharing my journey and showing them step by step how I did it and how they can too.
That's awesome. Okay, so do you have a question, Suzanne?
No, go ahead.
My question is, how long did it take you to train to actually do this half Ironman?
Sure. The race was in August. It was in late August, and I started my training in December. What
6
had
months?
happened? Yeah, it was
No,
about
more
6
than that.
months. And what had happened is I would continue the same lifestyle that I was living and thinking that I could just train harder to get to where I wanted to be, and it wasn't a reality. It was such an up and down roller coaster. One day would be great, the next day I couldn't do a thing. It was just all over the place. So it was about April of 2017 is when I made the decision. I said, this all has to go. It all has to go, like a complete cleanse. I went in, I know that they have all these fad diets and things like that, and I don't follow any of that stuff, but the change that I made was so drastic is I went and ate only raw foods. I went on a raw food diet for about 12 weeks. And it was one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do. but I'm so glad I did it because it's what set the foundation for me to continue on to where I am today. And I don't follow a specific diet or things like that. That was more of extreme for me, um, but yeah, that's how it all came to fruition.
That's awesome. And you can't willpower yourself out of something. Our willpower, I think, can only hold out for so long before
Yeah,
it needs to just chill, and then the other side comes and takes over. But
sure.
Suzanne, want to share something?
Yeah, so I'm curious. Like I know anytime I've made a change in my life and never one so drastic, it's affected my family. So how did your family cope with sort of, you know, being a father? Here's my dad, and now my dad is changing and he's doing all of this. How did that
Mhm.
impact things?
Really
Great
great
question.
question. It it didn't how do I want to say this? Is it impacted my family because in one way that they saw such a drastic change and they saw me become basically a completely different person, which was a very positive thing. A very positive thing. Where it didn't where it did affect them is they saw it, but the hardest part for me was nobody else was following along. And that was okay.
Mm,
That was hard to um wrap my mind around, and it was hard to really take a step back and say it's okay. They're
for sure.
seeing what I'm doing. They're seeing the changes. They see this way of living, and it, they're seeing that it's possible. But I didn't
You're
say
leading
you
by
have to follow
example.
me. Exactly.
You're
And
leading by example.
that sometimes can be the hardest thing because you want so badly for them to experience what you're experiencing.
Because I don't know if you checked in yesterday, but we were talking about our perspective, and we come to the table with our perspective, which is our reality. And so we're looking at a situation, seeing someone's potential, and all we're doing is saying, we would do this if we were you.
Exactly.
So that's
Exactly.
a huge lesson in all of that for sure.
It was hard, and it still is because they still don't. They still don't, which is okay. But
Right.
again, it's setting the example.
I get it.
Um,
I was telling you I was on a trip to Maine in September of last
yeah.
year, and something came up for me. Some health thing came up, and I went no dairy, no gluten, no sugar. So not quite plant-based vegan because I still had seafood or whatever, but it was hardcore, like within a day. And but when you're determined, like you were like, I'm running this half Ironman. Like
Mhm.
I was like, I'm doing what I'm doing. But I totally understand. And I had stayed on it I was not 12. Well, I should say I was 12 weeks, no dairy, no sugar, no gluten,
Mhm.
which that's a big challenge in and of itself. Because at least if you're like, what is it, vegan, you could have gluten. You know what I mean? There
Yeah.
were things that
Mhm.
I was like, no, no, no.
Yeah.
However, I've incorporated more in now, but basically I would say 90% have kept that lifestyle. But this week I'm going plant-based. So it's my plant-based week. So it's
Nice.
not a coincidence that you're here.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about. I know I went on your website and you really work with families. Is that what I'm understanding? Is it like
Um,
couples or families?
there's there has been a little bit of that, but most now I'm starting to. I had a complete program specifically for women.
Hmm.
Um, that really dealt with how to get off this diet roller coaster, lose weight, feel more confident in their skin in 12 weeks or less, lose 12 to 24 pounds in 12
Tell
weeks
them
or
to
less.
cut their dairy, gluten, and sugar. It works.
I know it does. I know it does.
It's
It's a
crazy.
different approach though.
What's wrong with me? I lost like 16 and a half pounds literally in like a month, and I didn't even
Mhm.
have it to lose.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy how it's just it's we could go down a rabbit hole right there. But so I had a specific program for women, and I still do. But I feel this really strong calling for to serve men who are struggling. they've come to this place in their life, you know, whether they're feeling overwhelmed with life and business, and their body's breaking down, and they just don't know how to get out of this, and how to build momentum, and they're just tired, they're beat down, and they need a huge reset. So I created what I call it. It's called the Achiever's Journey, and the Achiever's Journey is built specifically for that. There is 3 stages: reset, renew, and recharge. And there are steps along the way. This is the clearest roadmap out there that I have ever found and ever seen that will take somebody from feeling overwhelmed, overweight, to powerful, confident, and strong. And it's a clear roadmap. Like, it's step by step. If you follow this step, you will be completely confident in your body by the end of it. So
So is it something that can be virtual, or do they have to come to Maine?
No, it's virtual.
Okay, I was going to say, I mean, it's a nice trip, trust me, but
no, it's virtual. So everything is done online, and to be quite honest with you, a lot of it, it just involves a lot of understanding of our behaviors, understanding of how do we really work with our mind, how do we overcome difficult things and challenges, and understanding that, you know what, it is about the food, but it's not about the food. So that's really where the challenge is. So it's a complete course. It's a 12-week experience with myself, and there is some fitness stuff in there, but again, it can be all done virtually along the way.
And it's your journey relived, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah, I love what you said when you said, you know, reset, renew, and recharge for the man that's overwhelmed, because quite often, I mean, we hear everywhere women are overwhelmed and women have to deal with, you know, the kids and the husband and all that. But when you said at the very beginning, and I want to go back to that for a minute, when you said at the very beginning, I had 6-figure businesses. I had so much, but I just wasn't happy, and I just wasn't me. So to be able to recreate that for other people, that must give you a huge sense of pride and accomplishment.
It's overwhelming in a good way. I know what I do changes lives. I mean, it changes lives forever, and it's a ripple effect. It's not just in that individual's life. It's the person that they talk to. It's their family. It's their business. It's their clients. It's their customers. It's their kids and their wife, and you know, their connection spiritually. I mean, it's all connected. It's all connected.
I saw you posted a live yesterday. I only got to see a couple of minutes because I was just going through to get a taste of all our guests, and you were like, it's all connected, and it is all connected. It's so all connected. I have a personal question for you again. Are you happier?
I'm so much happier. I'm so much happier. So the path that most men, I believe, take starts from when they're a boy. Okay, they're a little boy, and they're fathered by their father in most cases. So they go from a boy to this adventure type life, and then they go into this fathered role, and then they go into, you know, being a husband, being a lover, and being all those things. And what I found for myself is that you follow what you know by no fault of your own, but you see by the experiences that you create at such a young age and that you're exposed to, and those are our influencers in life, and that's how we learn. And for men, we're taught to keep your mouth shut, put your head down, go make as much money as possible. You're not supposed to feel, don't talk about it, just stay the course. And if you're struggling with something, don't say a damn thing. Grab a beer and make it all go away.
Can I just tell you, we're all connected, because I think women are told the same thing, except maybe now, not so much before go out and make the money, but all of the other things, maybe a glass of wine as opposed to the beer.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of similarity that really brings men and women together in that arena,
Mhm.
is that we're led by example.
Exactly.
So to hear it from a male perspective so clearly is, as a woman, comforting to know that really there's a synergy there, not necessarily on the best level, but there's a synergy between men and women who are really going through the same thing.
There is.
And the way that we maybe show up is different because, we do have our differences, but
Mhm.
just be comforted to know that I probably could have checked off 3/4 of what you said, and I was told the same thing. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure, Suzanne, if you can resonate with, you know what, take care of the kids, be quiet, your husband does this. I mean, go ahead.
Actually, in a way, yes. However, I can also relate to that part of hearing my dad. I had 3 brothers, right?
Mm.
Okay.
And I had one sister, and my sister was always just this person I held on a pedestal. She was amazing, and she was in her own right. She was so much like my mom. And then my 3 brothers were basically told verbatim what you've said, Tony, right? Like, I
Mm,
have a good job, you have a good job. In order to be successful, you have to work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. You have to bring home a lot of money. You have to be, the tenured 32 years. My dad worked for Air Canada for 32 years. Like, this is what you need to do.
Mhm.
And I was never told one way or the other. I was the youngest of 5. My parents retired, right? But what I heard was, I have to do the same thing.
Mhm.
So in that perspective, yes. And when I was in a job, and I had been in a job for 17 years, this is where I thought I was going to end my life. Like, that was going to be the end of my career. And then when I
mm,
was downsized and laid off, I was devastated.
Mhm.
And it was like, okay, now I have to reinvent myself. What the hell do I do now? I was
Mhm.
told as a child, indirectly, that I needed a 9 to 5 job to be successful.
Mhm.
And I had to be a strong mom and a strong parent, and I had to take care of, these kids and all of this stuff. And then I got kids with disabilities, and so the whole gamut.
Mhm.
So in that perspective, at least, I do think that we're all told that same thing, but completely different perspectives from my
Right.
right,
world anyways. Yeah.
right. And it's all perspective again. But
Yeah.
it resonated what you're saying, and I think every individual has a version of that for them.
Mhm.
There's always a version. And I think that these versions show up for us as an opportunity for us to go on a journey like you did, Tony, for an opportunity for me to go on this journey and Susan to go on this journey and to help people on their journey. And our journeys, the journeys that we take people on might not resonate with everyone,
That's
but
right.
but that's why we're all here,
Mhm.
right? Because it's so important to find that connection and have that resonance with a guide who said, you know what, I'm walking my talk,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
I'm doing what I'm doing. But I love what you said because I can kind of relate, and I have never said this like really publicly, but like I always looked like did yoga. I was always, looked like I worked out and was in shape. I never told anyone I did. I always said I do yoga every day in my head. That was my joke, and it must be working because it looks like it. I have my 200-hour yoga teaching instruction, like I'm a yoga teacher, 200-hour
Yep.
trained. I have a background in nutrition. I have a culinary degree, but I was playing at it until I got a wake up.
Mhm.
And I had to wake up before the wake up. Like, I already knew I was not. Everything was great. Life was great, and that's what took. It took me on a journey long before I was paralyzed at 18. I had an autoimmune disease, so I had there's phases of journey. It doesn't
Yeah.
end. There's like, okay, now I'm done. No, you're not. And now you're here. Oh, no, you're not. Like, so you continue, but every time you continue, you add to your journey.
Right. No, absolutely. And um, you said something about living what you teach, and that's, to me, is the most powerful place that you can stand in integrity when you talk with people and you're bringing somebody along on their journey. Is like, here's the thing, is that nobody can question it. Nobody can come to me and say, this isn't right, you can't do it this way. Well, I can, and here's the result. You
Exactly.
can't take the results away from me. I mean, that's it, and that's what we focus on is results. That's it. It's how do we get the results that you're looking for? And this is my journey. This has been my life. This is how I created it, and I just share it with people. And it's proven. Like I've taken people through this, and it's proven. The results are there. So at the end of the day, it just can't be questioned. And I'm in 100% integrity with that, and that's what feels so authentic to me and so good to me is just
Hmm.
knowing that I live every single day what I teach my clients. And it's not easy. It's not easy.
No,
And
it's
it's
not
some of the hardest
easy.
part is a lot of times people come to me and it's, oh, it's easy for you. You're a trainer. You're a nutrition guy. You're this, you're that. Well, I'm telling you right now, it's complete bullshit because it is hard every single day. I do have to face decisions every single day. I do want to go back to my old life on a regular basis. I do want to revert back all the time. I
I
don't want to
will.
work out all the time.
I
I
will
don't.
tell you this, that even though you know what you know and you've been on your journey, and this is something that I'm a huge advocate for, is you didn't get a get out of being human free card,
No,
right? We didn't, just because we know what we know and we've been on the journey that we're on, we all still are human. We all still have our moments. We all still have the opportunity to say, you know what, this is what I feel like doing, and I'm going to follow that right now. So I think that that's an important thing to know, is that we're all here with
mhm,
all the knowledge and all the connections and all the tools and all the journeys. We're still human.
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And I'm not afraid to share the dark side of my life and what other people are going through because at the end of the day that's where to me is where I connect best with my clients is that I'm very real and very raw and will share everything a bit about my life. It's all out on the table because what I've experienced and what I continue to experience is the same thing that everybody else is experiencing at some point in their life.
Right. Just may manifest differently.
Hmm.
All right.
Exactly.
So I see that. Oh no, wait a second. We have some more time. I'm not in charge of this, so just letting everybody know who's watching. Corey's behind. We're trying something new this time.
Hmm.
Corey and I usually host, and so it was either myself or Corey running the StreamYard from behind the scenes. So we're sort of like at Corey's disposal right now. So I'm just wanting to make sure that we are paying attention and we're honoring the time and your time and Susan's time as well.
Sure. Sure.
And I'm just along for the ride, kind of going, this is fantastic for me because story and okay, the tears are coming, right?
Bring it on,
Your
girl.
your story is so heartfelt, and I can relate to so many parts of it, but yet I can't relate at all, right? And I think that that's the thing when Elise said, we're all human, and the fact that you can work with and understand what it's like to work with women, as well as going through that and going, yeah, okay, I could continue this, but I see that there's something bigger. I see that I can go beyond and work with men, and I just love that. One question I had for you was about your wife. I mean, I'm sure she's been very supportive in all of this. How has her life changed as a result of you having a different look?
Sure. I mean, that's a great question. Her life, how it's changed is it's been positive and it's been negative. A positive part is she has a husband who shows up and takes responsibility for how he shows up. Uh, as a husband, as a father, as a provider, as a protector, um, I'm a completely different person. Now, has that caused some friction? Absolutely, because
Yeah, I'm
someone
like,
like
does she
Susan,
like the new version of you? Like,
most of it,
she married one guy and now here's another one showing up.
100%, most of it. And a lot of these conversations have come up recently over the last couple of years is that, she was the one that was dealt with the kids and showed, made the decisions and all that kind of stuff. And I wasn't very hands-on in that part uh, uh, of our lives. And that was very difficult for her. And now it's I'm showing up, I'm taking responsibility, and I'm helping in the decisions with the girls and all those things like that come along with it. And sometimes that can be overwhelming, and She comes back into the hurt that I put her through, not being there and not being supportive when she was going through her challenges with kids and raising two daughters and working full time. I mean, there was a lot of faults that are now starting to come to the surface now that this version is showing up and says, "Hey, where you been?" kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
So, but from a health standpoint, she sees it, but again, she doesn't follow all the time. But again, it's not my responsibility to help her or not help her, but to live her life. I mean, it's her
Yeah,
life.
Right.
absolutely.
It's not her journey. It's your journey.
It's such a challenge because she had she probably killed me for saying this, but I'm gonna anyway. It's just
going on air, so you better make sure you want to say it.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
Just
we don't have a disclaimer.
No, she struggled with gestational diabetes with our kids, and she was one of those women who could eat and do whatever she wanted, and she stayed thin, she stayed healthy, and all that stuff. And then it was a challenge with the kids with gestational diabetes. The lifestyle still continued. Well, 3 years ago, she was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. So it's a hard road, and I live with somebody who goes through the challenges of the day-to-day life and dealing with trying to make the right decisions with food and exercise when you don't want to and you don't like to and all these things. So that's really how it's affected things, is like she sees somebody who has overcome a lot, can live this lifestyle, and sometimes that can lead to a lot of resentment, saying, "Oh, well, he's doing it, why can't I?" And so it's a tough balance, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I want to say, that's really what I'm living right now, right? As you're saying this, and you're like, well, no one was along the journey with me when I was eating healthy and when I was doing this, so it was hard. In my family, it was the other way around, right? My daughters have some diet restrictions, more so now. My oldest stepdaughter, she was vegan, and I'm like, I'm not cooking for you guys, but you can eat whatever you want. Mm-hmm. Well, that just changed the dynamic of our whole family. And my husband is type 2 diabetes, and through food and exercise, he's unmedicated now, right?
Congratulations.
But, yeah, it's been a hard road, but he's had to, weather many, many storms. And when he's going through it, I eat for him, if that makes sense, right? Yeah. Because it's like I see the sometimes the depression. He's PTSD, he's ex-military veteran, like you name it, he is that, but he's doing very well for himself. But there's times when I see he would do better to just eat that piece of chocolate or eat that piece of cake. So I find that I do it for him. And then there is some resentment there. So it is hard. When you're in the same house and you're trying to eat differently and trying to have different lifestyles, it's hard.
Very much so. Very much so.
Well, if my fiance Elliot's watching, I love you, babe, because he is, I got to tell you, he's on his own journey, and maybe I'm going to, I'm going to commend myself a little bit too, because whatever he wants to do, he does. It's my journey. Whatever comes up for me in life, if something comes up for me in a situation, it's already in me. The resentment's already in me. Somebody doesn't put resentment in me. They don't put the anger in me. They don't put the judgment in me. They don't put the sadness. They don't put the regret. They don't put the guilt. But they might poke it out of me, or as I call it, knock my cup over, and it'll come out. It's not easy because it's still there and it still feels the same. But he is just always a support. And I've been buying him his candy, whatever he wants and all that. And now on his own accord, he's now making the changes, and we've just supported each other. Now, has it, if he's having a beer or whatever, and I might have a spiked kombucha on my journey, like that kind of thing would happen. So I would come over to that side, and maybe he would try a little on my side. But as I see we're growing together, we're coming together along the same path. Now, I don't think he's going to go plant-based anytime soon, but so what?
Yeah.
Because it's not my journey.
That's right.
My journey is to stand in integrity. Our journey, all of our journeys, is to stand in integrity with ourselves and find whatever it is within us that we can live a joy-filled life. Because when we show up as a joy-filled being, then we are the change that's going to happen that we want to see in the world anyway. But trying to make somebody else do it, feel how that feels. It's like a lot of pressure. Set yourself free with your wife. Support her, love her,
Sure.
see her as the best version of herself.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't always have to like it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so there's the potential of that, you know,
That's
like
right.
make the change and being supportive in both ways. So it is possible. And
Totally.
thank you for helping me recognize how lucky I am.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah,
There's
for sure.
so many that come into my world, and honestly, they after a couple weeks, it's like they're doing it for themselves, but they come out and say, well, I want my husband or I want my wife to do better for herself too, so that's why we're doing this. That's why I'm doing this. And I'm like, time out.
Wrong reasons.
Time out. Okay, this is for you. The best you can do is show up as the best version of yourself and make the changes for yourself, so everybody around you will see and experience and feel the changes and see the changes and want to hopefully come to a time in their life where they say, like you came to a point in time in your life where you had to make a change, like you were faced with something, right? Usually we come up against either something bad in a medical report or a diagnosis or some form of a pain, right? But we've come so accustomed to dealing with high levels of pain. So like, what's it going to take to make a change? Like what's it really going to take? So,
and it's an undercurrent. It could just be a hum of an undercurrent of discontent. And it doesn't even have to be from now. It can be from childhood. It could be from conception. But honor that before it goes to the next level.
That's right.
Honor your hum.
Yeah.
Not your ohm, but the hum.
Yeah.
That buzzing, that buffering. Yeah. And not for anyone else. If you want to eat that cake, Susan, eat the cake, but not for him.
Sure.
Eat it for you.
Well, usually I eat it for me and then I eat his too, right?
Well, okay, but at least do it for you though. I know that I get the joke, but does that one little twist in perspective, it will change a lot.
Absolutely. And you know, it's so timely too. Like I believe in everything happens for a reason and the right time with the right people. And I was just saying to myself yesterday, it's time that I figure out who I am and health-wise what I do, right? Because I think the rest of my family's got it figured out. You know, during the pandemic, my two daughters live with me and their significant others. So there's 6 of us in the house. And we all eat at different times and we all, right? And me and my husband try to eat a healthy meal, but it's meat and potatoes. And, you know, at least when you said, you know, cut out the gluten, cut out the sugar, cut out the dairy, easier said than done when you've lived your
No. It is not easier said than done. I was traveling in an RV for a month by myself, and I would stop at people's. I'm a driveway surfer, so I'll pull into your driveway with my 24-foot RV, and I'll cook for you. And you know, I'm the best guest, and I go back to my house, but I would have stops where I'd go and get all organic stuff, and I'd be roasting. I'm like, could I use your oven? And I roasted all day, the beets, the cauliflower, the this. I made the pestos with all the greens from the beet tops, and the friends and family that I stayed with loved it. And I gave them the recipes and everything. But when I was traveling, I'm not going to stop at a fast food restaurant. And it would have been easy to, because you get hungry or you're thirsty, so I had to have everything prepped. So I had my little, you know, roasted veggies in between me, my seat. And so it takes organization and focus, and it isn't that easy. Trust me, because everything has frickin' sugar and gluten and some sort of something in it.
And
if it's not fresh, raw.
No, and when I say it's easier said than done, I mean, I'm not saying it's easy to do.
Oh, okay. I was like,
I'm not saying it's easy to do. It's a lot of work, and it's worth it, right? In the end, for me, it's like my house has certain things in it, and to keep those things out of it would be very, very difficult, right?
But here's the thing: you don't have to keep them out.
Right. You just have to, in everything in moderation, right? And
and I'm an advocate for that. I'm an advocate. We don't mean to be talking over you literally, Tony, but we are over you right now.
It's things that I hear all the time.
Great inspired, conversation though. And, Tony, I want to ask you, because I know our time is slowly dwindling here, but I want to ask you, what keeps you going? Like, what's the driving force behind, whether it be eating or, right? Because there has to be a reason behind it.
100%. So there's two that drive the train every single day. Number one is I feel it's my duty and my obligation to be the best version of myself every single day, to be a hero dad and to be a loving, providing husband for my wife and for my family. And I want to provide the best life for them. And I want to be there and experience life with them for as long as I'm here. Okay. That's number one. Number two, I do not want to be limited in my life because of a health reason. I want to live a limitless life, to be able to go and do whatever it is that I want to do at any point in time in my life, regardless if I'm 41, 51, 61, 75, it doesn't matter. I want to be able to live life to the fullest, however it is that I want to choose. And that is simply the driver of that is taking care of my body temple.
Oh, I love that. And every time you hear someone speak, and at least I know you can agree with this, you pick out some golden nuggets. I've picked out many.
Okay. Thank you for reminding me.
That's that one right there.
Okay. Yeah, so that's a mind seed. So in the Flip Your Script coaching program, we have thought weeds and mind seeds with a Z. So I talked to Corey. I'm like, Corey, it's been so long since we did one of these events. I forgot to ask everyone for their mind seed that they would like. So a mind seed is more than an intention, right? A mind seed is a neutral perspective that when planted in place of a thought weed in your mind will start to grow in a way that will benefit and support and complement the best version of someone. So I know I interrupted because I just got so excited. Sorry. But so Tony, we would love a mind seed from you. Like if somebody could plant a seed today in place of a thought weed that's not supporting their best version, what mind seed would you share?
Just one?
Well, we could just start with one.
Okay. Answer the question, who do I want to become?
Who do I want to become? Love it. And if you could post that mind seed in the comments below, along with your website and how somebody can get in touch with you, that would be awesome, because this does stay on the bLU Talks Flip Your Script experience page. And then I think it's on LinkedIn and YouTube and it's all over. But if you put it in the comments, then somebody who comes back to watch the replay will know how to find you.
Okay.
So that would be great. So who do you want to become? What was the one that you thought was so profound, though, Susan? I'm curious.
Just to be your own temple, to be comfortable in your own skin, and really know that at any moment in time, and I know I'm not there, but I know I'm going to get there. And this is going to help. At any moment in time, you can do anything you want to do.
Okay, but while you're on your way, just love every bite of the cake that you're eating, please, because that's really the most important thing. Honestly, stressing and being a vegan, stressing and being plant-based, it doesn't work. Not a good combo.
And I've said
stress is going to win.
Right? I said I'm going to live with a smile on my face as long as I can, and I'm going to die with a smile on my face. So
there you go. Yeah. Tony, I got to tell you something. I'd love for your family to come visit us. My fiance and I bought an old motel. This is not on my website because I've been so busy this past year. We bought an old motel during the pandemic right on the Wickiwachi River in Florida's Adventure Coast. That's what they call the area. It's Old Florida, and it's the canals and springs are filled with manatees. We have 5 suites right on the waterfront. Families come. We have a handprint building. We have kayaks, canoes, fire pit, water trampoline, the whole thing. Like, it's a great place. You guys could kayak 6 miles upriver if you want. And those that don't want to kayak upriver, we'll make an appointment and we'll get you upriver and you can come down.
Super cool.
Yeah, I'll reach out to you. I'd love you guys to come.
Yeah, shoot me a message. You
can to this side of town when you're looking for a getaway, an active getaway.
Nice.
It has been a pleasure, an absolute pleasure meeting you. Best of everything. I did reach out to Elliot too, like when you were speaking. I'm like, Elliot, look at the guest, right? Listen to the guest right now, because it would be great to maybe have you introduce you to Elliot while he's on this path now.
Yeah, anytime, anyone that anyone. It doesn't matter, male or female. Like I said, I work with both. Here's a funny thing before Corey pulls me out of here. I'm very much an empath, and I live a lot of my life inside of the feminine energy, and I can relate so much to women, and I understand it. I listen to them and make them feel the way that they want to feel, but also get them the changes. And for men, it's just a different way of communicating, and I feel connected to both realms, and that's why I've created both of these programs specifically for each one of them. So it's powerful. It really is. And thank you so much for having me. And anything that you need, anybody that needs anything, just reach out. I'm here to help. I know this stuff is hard,
but it's also fun. It's not just hard. I mean, all right, well, we'll have a chit chat, Tony. You'll come, we'll sit by the fire pit and we'll talk. I'll help you flip that script. But you're amazing, you're awesome. Thank you so much. Again, Corey, I guess Corey is ready. Yes, we can see him behind the scenes. We'll definitely come back, wrap it back around, as Corey says, to be continued. Wow, what a guy, huh?
Yeah, that was amazing.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Dave.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm well too, thank you. Nice to meet you. I'm Elise. I don't know if you watched backstage a little bit. And this is Suzanne, or Susan, right?
Susan.
We're just meeting for the first time. We're hosting you, meeting for the first time. How's it going today?
It's going well. It's going well.
Good. You look a little different than you do on your website. Yeah. Weren't you in military, like in your uniform?
Well, that is my Class A uniform from the fire department.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe you'd show up in uniform for us, but you're fine, just the way you are. No need to go change.
I was trying to get the green screen background up, but it wouldn't let me add the virtual background.
Did you go to the settings?
Yes.
It's all right. You look good with that background. We're good. We can see you. We could see you. So, David, welcome. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? How do you know Corey? First of all, let's just start there. Corey's always he's like 3 degrees of separation, we decided yesterday. Not Kevin Bacon's 6 degrees of separation. Corey's like 3.
Well, so I met Corey through the editor of my book. She introduced me to Corey after, well, it was actually the first day that she went through my book.
Is that him or
and said, "Oh my gosh, like there's really." Did I lose you?
A little bit, but you're back.
Okay. So the first day that she was going through my book, she said there are 3 to 4 solid TED Talks here. Have you thought about doing that? And I said, well, yeah, I was considering it. And she was like, okay, you need to talk to Corey. So she connected me with Corey. I had a conversation with him, got engaged with his TEDx coaching program. And really, I haven't been able to dedicate a whole lot of time until just recently to really invest in landing a TEDx talk, because I've been completing everything that goes into getting a book published. My book Fireproof will be officially released October 11th, but available on my website probably within the next 30 days.
All right, now we want to know what is Fireproof about?
Well,
is that a trick? Is that a trick question? What does it say on the back? Don't they have like a little description?
No, I was considering. So
wait, you were considering what?
Which direction to take this explanation in. So really, I've been pretty passionate about leadership development for probably the last 10, 12 years. As I moved up in the fire department, taking on more responsibilities. Once I made rank to the company officer level, I quickly realized that maybe I don't have everything that I need right now as far as skill level to be able to lead these individuals. Like, why would they follow me? And I invested a lot of time in developing myself as a leader, or develop myself into somebody that I would want to follow, and ended up developing a program for that, for the fire service, for my fire department. And over time, just working in the fire service, I've been in the fire department for 20 plus years. You see a lot of bad stuff. You see a lot of what was the last thing you heard?
You see a lot of bad stuff.
A lot of bad stuff.
Okay, so where I live is in Central Florida.
Where?
Orlando.
I'm in Weeki Wachee.
Oh, no kidding.
We bought an old motel right on Weeki Wachee River. You'll really have to come visit.
So I've spent the bulk of my career running calls in the busiest firehouses, which equates to the bad parts of town, quote unquote, the bad parts of town, where there's, lower income, higher crime rate, lots of drugs, lots of crime, violent crime. You see what people are capable of doing to one another. And that stuff sticks with you. And it also kind of, if you don't practice good self-leadership, you can end up making some poor decisions, not just professionally, but
personally, I'm going to guess.
Personally, I did. And in that experience, I found myself trying to reframe these experiences into not necessarily being bad, but opportunities for me to be better.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wrote a book in an attempt to share some of my personal growth opportunities with people in either early on in their leadership career, or before they reach a level in their career where a small mistake could mean some really bad things for their career or their personal life. So I wrote this book. I apply different philosophy to really kind of walk the reader through developing a grand strategy for their life, not necessarily their career, but really defining for themselves what is important, maybe identifying what their purpose is. Defining their so that you can begin to recognize what's truly important to you. And I spent a lot of my life identifying as a firefighter, and I no longer work for the fire department. And when I left the fire service, I really had this identity crisis where I had identified as that for so long that all of a sudden I didn't know who I was, or what I stood for, what I could really tell people about myself and not be full of crap. So I kind of walk the reader not kind of. I do walk the reader through a process that I used with my daughter to really identify.
How old is your daughter? We didn't even get that information from you. We jumped right in.
Okay. So my daughter, she is 15, just an incredible young woman, and really, I think probably the center of my world.
So you have one daughter?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. And I know we dove right in. I don't know what our timeline is. How long?
Oh, you're good. You got time. You got like at least a half hour.
All right, cool.
We'll guide you. Don't worry. You just do you.
All right. So this exercise that I did with my daughter, we just sat down at dinner.
Can we do it now?
Yeah.
Is it something we can do? Let's do it. I'm all up for like interactive. You ready, Susan?
Yeah, bring it on.
Bring it on.
So the first step that I walked her through is, let's think of people that we want to be like, and what are the characteristics that we admire most about them, and let's just if it's some kind of organizational leader or just a person that we admire, and what value have they added to our life. So we wrote down this list, and this is what I would walk anybody through, is to write down a list of 10 to 12 characteristics or qualities of somebody or multiple people. What do these people stand for? What is it that we admire most about them? And you come up 10 to 12 characteristics, right? It could be, loving, honest.
So it's not the person, it's the characteristics of the person.
That's what we're trying to distill. What is it that we are so what are the characteristics that we would want to embody in ourselves?
Okay.
That these individuals or individual exhibit.
Okay, so it's the character as opposed to the person themselves. It's what is it that we're drawn to?
Right.
Okay, gotcha. I want to make sure I'm doing this correctly because it sounds really good. Okay, I'm writing it all down.
So let me actually, I feel like I have a scan of what we actually did. I'm not
okay, but if you do, you could do it later and send it to me, and then I can post it in the comments if you want to share it, or you can have somebody reach out to you and then send it to them. That's a good way to have a call to action.
Okay.
Have a call to David action, and then they can send that over to you.
Yeah, and I actually outlined it in the book as well. So if anybody down the road once it's available. Wants to do that. This is a really nice conversation, probably one of the best conversations I've had with my daughter in a long time, where we really got to see on, I don't know, and I guess an intimate level, what we value most in people, and we came to an agreement on what we value most as a family. So
you had a real conversation around what that was, and I imagine you got closer to her based on that conversation.
Right. And it was enlightening, I think, for both of us. So you write down these 10 to 12 characteristics. And what I've found in doing this exercise with other people is you'll end up with some that are very similar. And so you want to distill it down to maybe 3 or 4 of those characteristics, and then identify or define what that means to you, what each one of those means to you.
So take the 12, make it 4. I mean, basically, right? The 4 that you have in common?
And then define those.
Is it the 4 that you have in common?
No. So out of the 12, you might find that like wisdom or intelligence or perseverance, grit, determination, courage, strength, things like that. You'll find that there are some that are real close, and you kind of lump those together. So maybe perseverance, strength, determination you have in one, and then it's just preference. Which one do you think is the best word to use, and define that? So then we defined these things, and I said, okay, let's see if we can come up with a value statement or just our mantra. And
we call it a mind seed here on the Flip Your Script stage. Mind seed with a Z. It's a seed of thought that you can plant in place of a thought weed, something that is maybe not supporting or benefiting the way that you're showing up. Yeah. So you get to plant the mind seed. So everybody can create their own mind seed based on what you're sharing with us. That's awesome.
Yeah. No, I like the way that you framed, because that's absolutely replacing the weed with something beautiful.
Mm-hmm. So you come up with your mind seed. I love that. Love it.
So our statement that we came up with, just based on the values that we established as like, these are our 4 core values. Our statement was leadership through virtue and action.
Oh, I love that.
I'm writing it down.
And to make it really fancy,
Go fancy on us, Dave.
I pulled up the Google Translate and put that in there and translated it into Latin. So ductu per virtutem et actionem.
Ooh, definitely elevates it a little.
Yeah. So I have my logo for my podcast. I use it on my website, but that's actually my mantra, my motto for my business, for my what I try and share with people through coaching, mentoring, that sort of thing.
So tell us a little bit about your podcast.
Well, when I started writing the book, again, this is I alluded to it a little bit. I made some mistakes. I ended up leaving the department that I worked for, not of my own free will. I kind of
I
left.
kind of got the gist, but I didn't want to say anything.
Yeah, no, I made some poor decisions in my personal life that became public and affected my career.
So can I just, I have a little comment to make on that.
Absolutely.
I have to plant a seed. So you were talking about like how you were in, I call it the hood. I'm from East Harlem in Manhattan, so I get what it's like to live in the hood. And there's a lot of people who are out of alignment from who they are for whatever reasons, not getting the proper understanding, care, nurture, being taught how, whatever happens. So there's some choices that they make that definitely aren't the best for themselves and those around them or who happen to be involved in the choices that they're making. However, you now are a little bit, you're not quite from the hood, right? I don't know your background, but I'm assuming you come from a family and you got the attention and the nurturing and the love. I mean, you're a firefighter, right? You got at least guidance to know that you were confident enough and to go into a world to be able to save people, right? But still the circumstances showed up that somehow pulled you out of alignment, even just a little bit, to make some choices that weren't the best choices for the best version of you.
Right.
So for me, that's like everything. I mean, it's so huge. It's unfortunate that it happened, but doesn't that, for me, it's like, can you only imagine why some people are making the choices that they're making? I don't condone them, but if you have it together as much as you have, and it only took a little bit to make it wonky, can you imagine just growing up wonky and just trying to figure it out in the chaos and making these choices that look to people that are looking on it as they're awful people? No, it's about, if somebody's making a choice that doesn't support them, they don't recognize their value. Bottom line, somebody recognizes their value and they know that they're worth it and they know that they could make a powerful impact in the world, they wouldn't be making the choices that they're making. Bottom line, period, without a doubt. So I'm just wondering if it gives you a little bit more sympathy and understanding for the crap that you saw back in the day when you were working and what people were doing to each other in a horrible way, a little bit more like, wow.
Oh, no.
Am I explaining it right? It's in my head. I don't want to like come out and say what I'm just, do you know what I mean? It's like, it makes me feel like, wow, I really get it.
No, absolutely. I would say that, well, the neighborhood that I grew up in wasn't the best.
Okay.
You know, and I think that a lot of times people will find that individuals that go into public service a lot of times have a background rooted with some form of childhood trauma or adverse childhood experiences where
we call them ACEs.
Right.
Yep.
So you find yourself that maybe at the time you felt kind of powerless, but you have this sense of now you're older, you're able to put yourself in a better position. Maybe I'd like to help others, whether it's go into the fire service so that you can go help people, whether it's go into law enforcement where you can defend the weak, or go into the military where you can liberate the oppressed, or whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm.
You'll find, even mental health, you'll find that people that, well, I think that there are more people out there that have adverse childhood experiences than don't.
Absolutely, hands down. That's why we're all here.
And in realizing that, can really release you from a lot of like feeling like you're the only one, you're alone in this world, because I think that a lot of people feel that what they're struggling with, nobody could understand.
Yeah.
I use the ACEs for my clients. Before I work with any client, we'll have a conversation, and I send them. I call it an emotional plaque assessment, because over time, the emotional plaque builds up to the point where we don't even know what's what anymore. It's all just together. So I use ACEs for my clients, the 10 simple questions, and I call it the emotional plaque assessment. And I promise you, every single person, and I don't care if I work even with a 6-year-old or a 90-year-old, every single one has at least one yes.
Yeah.
Out of 10. I mean, that percentage is huge.
Right.
So yes, you're not alone. I'm not alone. Susan, you're not alone. We're not alone in this whole thing. And yes, being able to release that emotional plaque that's built up in those old beliefs, because it's really your child running the show. It's that version of you that's like, I'm going to make this good no matter what it takes. And they're so determined and so tenacious that they're still there as you grow up and look like this adult. But really the version of us that got stuck is the one that's showing up, and they're not equipped.
Right. Yeah. One thing that I've worked with a lot of different people throughout the years, and there's a lot of people like me that go into the fire service and understand that we're not there to judge people. We're there to help them,
Gotcha.
regardless of their background, regardless of their station in life. And then there's others that can't relate or don't allow themselves to relate. And they tend to get burned out really quick in those environments. So I feel like if you do it long enough, you're going to have moments where and I think it's human nature to judge others, but being aware of that isn't always the most helpful. And to like kind of take a step back and go, what is it? Like, did they really choose this life for themselves, or did they experience some really bad stuff throughout their life and they just don't see another way?
I'm going to go with B.
Yeah.
If it was multiple choice, I'd pick B.
Well, of course. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just asking those two questions when you're frustrated with the situation.
Yeah.
As the person that goes there to help somebody, it's easy to get frustrated.
For sure. So I think I cut you off on the whole blog, your podcast. Did we get the full story? No.
No. So there was this point where the last year of my career, I would say I had a career of just really bad calls. But towards the end of my career is when three of the worst calls that, three of the worst calls of my career. And I guess just the cumulative effect, and that was just the tipping point. I don't know how to really explain it, but I went to a pretty dark place and made some very self-centered decisions, and ended up losing my career, a career that I was very proud of. And once I kind of got myself back on track where I wasn't feeling as sorry for myself and said, I can use this experience to help others.
Mm-hmm.
Write a book. The more immediate way for me to help others, start a podcast and talk about my story, talk with other people that have different perspectives on leadership and different perspectives on so a lot of the people that I talk to, they're either leaders in public safety, the military, or they're mental health professionals, or they're just really passionate about helping people develop as leaders. And you'll find that people experience failure in different ways. And I like to try and get people to understand that if they have experienced what they believe to be this huge failure that has destroyed their life and maybe on the verge of giving up, just to slow down and realize that you're not alone. You didn't destroy your life. You're at a point in your life where you can either learn something from it, make yourself better, or you can make that decision and give up. But that isn't going to add value, and you have the ability right now to add value to people, make their life better, help people avoid the same mistakes that you've made. And
I like it. Well, what's your podcast called?
From Embers to Excellence.
Oh, I like that. Did you do the same thing? How did you come up with that?
It was a conversation. It was a brainstorming thing where I didn't quite know what I wanted to title it, but I knew that I wanted it to be some kind of from ashes or whatever, because I just felt like I was a shell of a human. I felt like I had just burnt my life to the ground, and I wanted to make something of it. And so I really believe that it's just mindset. If you can get yourself to a point where you can recognize that it's not the end, and we can turn things around.
And I got to tell you that embers and ash are really good in compost. And when you have really good compost and you plant the right seed, you cultivate something amazing and beautiful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And I love that, Dave. You really, everything that you've been through, you needed to go through so that you can be where you are right now. I mean, think
right
about
here, right here with us.
Think about what would have happened if you hadn't left the fire department, right? And all of the people that you've helped and the book that you've written and the relationship with your daughter and everything that's happened, that all of that wouldn't have happened in the same way.
Yeah.
Like, that's beautiful.
I love the expressions he's left in the trees.
This is going to be share this. So last weekend, I traveled to South Dakota to speak at a fundraising gala for this organization that sponsors veterans and first responders with PTSD. They send them. It's the Sacred Mountain Retreat Center in the Black Hills of Deadwood, South Dakota. They create this environment for veterans and first responders that, they're suffering with PTSD. And I'm speaking from experience. You don't trust too many people with sharing your story with. And you just kind of suffer through. I was very close to deleting my book. I was very close to just deleting all of my podcast episodes that I had recorded. And I had interviewed this Navy SEAL, a retired Navy SEAL, who told me I needed to apply to this program. I ended up going in April of last year. And they invited me to come speak at their gala to help raise funds to sponsor more veterans and first responders. While I was speaking, it was an emotional time because I hadn't really shared my story with too many people outside of that small group when I went through the retreat. And this room was filled with, over 400 people. And as you could imagine, a room full of veterans and first responders, combat vets, that sort of thing, these big, burly men, tough people, even the women that are just, they're tough. They've been through combat. They've been through they're calloused. And while I was speaking, you could hear people's broken voices. Enunciating words of encouragement to me to help me through what I was talking about. And afterwards, getting hugs and having people like their voices shaking, they're crying, If I hadn't gone, shared my story with this retired Navy SEAL, he never would have recommended this program. I never would have met the people that I did. I never would have been able to speak in front of this room of veterans and first responders that were feeling broken.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very powerful for me, but I know that it was powerful for them. But this thing that I'm about to share with you is I met this woman at my retreat, and we became very good friends, and over time developed a relationship. I proposed to her at that gala this past weekend, and this woman, she was a combat medic. She served in Iraq. She saved a lot of lives, but she's seen a lot of death and destruction. She herself had been blown up multiple times. She's the recipient of 2 Purple Hearts. I met her at this PTSD retreat. She's got some demons, but through had I not been through what I've been through, had she not been through what she'd been through, we wouldn't be right for one another. And I think we both feel like we found the person we're supposed to be with. And when she came back from Iraq, she went to school. She got her master's degree in social work. And she works as a licensed clinical social worker, helping combat vets with PTSD.
Wow.
Beautiful.
And she's probably, her clients, I've met some of them, Vietnam vets that are hard, calloused people, and they adore her. She just has a way. And had she not been through those horrible experiences she'd been through, these individuals might not be getting the help that they're getting. And it's just all these different things where in the moment we might feel like we're just a shell of a human being. But if we can take the time and embrace the pain that we've been through, embrace it through, and use them to help somebody else. It I don't know, it just makes things so much more beautiful.
Absolutely. And, I love that story so much. My husband's a veteran and I've been through programs with him, and I get where you're coming from. The tears, the emotion inside of me, because I teach that if your story can change the life of one person, it's worth sharing. And that day you told your story to 400 people. You changed their lives and they changed yours. And how poetic is that?
And, even being here today, even though we don't have like the details of the story, we get the gist. So anyone who's listening to this now, who's going to listen to the replay, I'm going to ask you to put your information in the comments below, the link to your podcast, to your website. So if somebody hears this and is touched by it and wants to reach out or find out how to get the book, or even the one sheet that you said you had, with the picking the qualities and the characteristics that you want to become, all of those bits of information are vital, and just think of yourself as an emotional plaque remover, because that's what it is. These experiences build up to the point where they're in the now. It's like it's still here. It's still happening. It's still real. And that flow, there's a flow that happens that it's blocked. So you're helping to kind of recreate that flow in life for people who have made a huge impact in the world. Like without you guys,
Absolutely.
you think there's stuff out there now? Like, whoa. So you're really a game changer.
Yeah. And Dave, I want to say thank you for your service. And I'm not talking in the fire department.
No, like showing up. Like I already knew when you showed up. I was like, there's something about how you show up and hold space. Green screen, no green screen, doesn't matter. Whatever it is, you hold that space. She's a lucky woman. Did she say yes? Do you want to? Did she say yes?
Yes, she did. She did.
Okay, yeah, I was holding off because you didn't say whether she said yes or not.
Yeah, no, it was awesome.
Was she in Orlando with you?
No. So that's another really, that's part of the story. So she lives in the Panhandle. I live in Central Florida. I have my daughter every other week. So when I have my daughter, I'm in Central Florida. And then, once I take my daughter to her mom's house, I drive up to the Panhandle and spend the week with my fiance.
All right, well, then you guys could come and stay here. We have a Berry Naughty suite. It's NAUTI, and it's the Berry Door. We named all our suites. You'll have to come, and I'd love to meet you in person and meet her, and come and hang out for a couple of days. And we'll go kayaking and hang out with the manatees, and it's paradise right here in Florida. It's amazing.
Yeah. And what is so I've been to Weeki Wachee, but it's been so long. I know it's close to the West Coast, like Crystal River area.
Yes, right. So it's Homosassa, Crystal River, Weeki Wachee. We're the home of the mermaids. Like the live mermaid show is right like 2 miles up the street from us. So we're known for Weeki Wachee is known for the mermaids, the live mermaid show, but also manatees. And there's a place called Hospital Hole. It's 180 feet deep and it's cavernous. And the manatees between November and May come and heal in those waters because it's warm when you go a little deeper. And it gets kind of cold in Central Florida. I know people don't realize that, but it can get chilly, and at least for them. So yeah, we bought an old roadside motel during the pandemic and walking my talk. If I'm going to help people create the limitless possibilities in the world, I got to do the same. So you're all welcome to come. It's a place to come and flip your script in real time, have an experience, and take that with you in the world.
I'm sorry. I don't know if it's my connection or what, but froze up there for a second, so I think I spoke over you.
Oh, it's okay. Well, you froze, so we didn't hear you.
Oh, okay, cool.
Well, Dave, it's been a real pleasure. Can you just let our guests know again where they can find you verbally, and then if you can go underneath and put your information in the comments, that would be great as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, the best way is to just go to my website. It's hollenbachleadership.com. HOLLENBACH leadership.com. I have links to my podcast. I have mental health resources on there for veterans and first responders. I have recommended books if you're looking to, read some books on leadership development. I have recommended books there on my website, and all of my social media accounts are linked in the top right. Well, it depends on if you're on your phone or on your laptop. You'll find my social media links up top, and my email address is on there as well, but just
Yep.
Hollenbach at hollenbachleadership.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You did, but we got it. It was Hollenbach at hollenbachleadership.com. And yeah, like I said, I'm going to say it again. Just go in and put it in the comments. I'm not sure where you see this, but it's Blue Talks Flip Your Script Experience on Facebook. That's one of the main group. And then I know Corey's like putting it on LinkedIn and YouTube. And feel free to actually share the interview on your page. So you can actually click the share button and share it with your social media as well.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Look forward to meeting you. And what's your fiance's name?
Diane.
And Diane. Look forward to meeting you guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, have a great one.
You too.
I'm assuming Corey's. Oh, he did it. Look at that timing. Yay for us. What a guy, huh? Hello. You're on mute.
The pandemic will live with us forever. You're on mute. I can't hear you. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
How are you? I call it the global plot twist.
Yes,
It
absolutely.
was a global plot twist.
Yes. Yeah. It's some of the things that will come out of this with will be funny. Some will be good. And hopefully we've all learned a lot about ourselves and the world, right?
Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about yourself. First, where are you in the world?
Yes. So that's always a great question, Elise. I live in a few places, and I happen to be in sunny yet cold Calgary right now. We live part-time south and further south. So a little bit of an oddity to be here, but it's a beautiful sunny winter day, and I'll just enjoy it from inside today.
How far is that from you, Susan? I don't really know.
It's about 3 hours. I'm just outside of Edmonton. So yeah, I get the whole sunny, like the sun's just sort of taken over here. It's getting sunnier and sunnier, but it's getting colder and colder as the sun gets warmer.
That's right. That's right. Yes. So I live in Calgary, Alberta, and then we live part-time in sunny Southern California, Palm Springs, and just about to spend some more time in the Caribbean. I've spent about a month down there and headed there again soon. So
when you say Caribbean, where's that?
The lovely island of Curacao, which is quite far south, a very small island, lovely island, not very commercialized, and part of the ABC Islands. So for those who like Aruba, you would love Curacao.
I spent many years. I think I mentioned briefly that I had an autoimmune disease at 18 and I was paralyzed. And that really propelled my journey onto how powerful we are as beings and how, anyway, long story. I had made an agreement with myself that within 3 months I was going to walk out of the hospital without cane, without walkers, without physical therapy, after being told it could take 2 years before I might walk again. And when I did, 3 months later, 3 hospitals later, I bought a one-way ticket to St. Thomas and spent almost 3.5 years on and off in the British and U.S. Virgin Islands and became a charter chef. So we used to take the route all the way down the leewards. So I'm very familiar, and what a lucky girl you are.
Yeah, and this one, it's interesting. This is actually my husband's dream. He has always loved Saint Martin was his,
Yeah.
because we are an airline aviation family, and Maho Beach is just incredible, where the aircraft come in over the beach. And so this has been sort of part of his dream, and I'm happy to get to share this one. We've
It's a good dream.
accomplished a lot, and and there is, there is nothing like snorkeling to relieve stress, right? And put things into perspective, regardless of what it is. So a little more time in the water, I think, will be good.
For sure. Now, do you have any children?
We do, yes. We have a couple of boys who are full grown and both doing really well. We were so fortunate that they managed to get their international education finished prior to the pandemic, and both made it safely home. One was in the protests in Hong Kong just before, so he was in that, and then got back for his last semester during pandemic. He was in Florida for spring break. He was part of that situation, and some of the kids with him actually caught COVID quite early. So we were really lucky that they sort of got through that, got employed, right? That's something that for a lot of people in that age group has been a challenge. So they're all doing well. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what brought you to the Blue Talks Flip Your Script
Yeah.
event stage
Let's
today?
talk about helping women live big, rich, prosperous lives, right? So I believe that women should use their choices and their voices to create a lifestyle of their own design. There's the mind seed right there.
Yeah, I'm already writing it down. Can you say it again? You just started it. You just did it. You know when you watch a movie and you're like, all right, oh, there's the title. Like you just came right out of the starting gate with it. So
That's right. We don't have time to mess around. So ladies, use your choices and your voices to create a lifestyle of your own design. And then go back and underline own design.
I'm all about it's your life, own it.
That's right.
Choices and voices to choose the
lifestyle of your own design. So that means learning to dream again. It means determining your why and then your how. It means creating a financial life that is comfortable for you. When I say prosperity, I mean all the richness of life with the money to support it. And talking about money is
That's important.
A topic. You need to figure out the lifestyle you want to live. How many dollars does it take to create that lifestyle? And let's create those dollars in a way that we love doing, so that we can live this life we love. And so that we can decide to go live on a Caribbean island part-time, so that we're not stuck in a job, a relationship, or a situation that is not fulfilling us. Life is just too damn short. So I come from a family, my mother and her mother both died at 47. So I lived my life with a bit of an expiry date. And I knew I had to get my bucket list done by the time I reached that age. So when I woke up alive on my 48th birthday, it was with a view of the Eiffel Tower in honor of my mother. And it is absolutely my passion to help other women stop living small, stop living with what's handed to them, and reach out and make this life for themselves. Set the example for other women, for their daughters, for their nieces, whatever it may be. Now, the irony in this is that, I'm trying to avoid that sun. There we go. So I talk a lot about women, but I was laughing this fall in my private coaching practice. I had more men than I did women. So this does resonate for all, right? I understand that. And I love helping men who get this as well. And I think just having the two male speakers, it's so important that we all think about this. But for me, I just saw too many women living unhappy lives that were cut short. And sort of similar to you, Elise, growing up, when I was 15 years old, my husband and I started going out, and we decided that we wanted to have, this is before VRBO and Airbnb, but we decided that we wanted to have 3 or 4 vacation homes and travel amongst them and then rent them out. We knew this in this, tiny little town that we grew up in, where there wasn't, we didn't have any sort of influencers back then, right? We didn't have the internet, but we knew that there was something there. And then when I was 18, I got to visit Los Angeles and Palm Springs. And I drove into Palm Springs, and there were those fairy lights wrapped around the palm trees.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a goner. And I said to my dad right then and there, I'm going to live here someday. I don't know how, but I'm going to make it happen. So I had seen this, this life of just taking whatever was offered to you and not asking for any more as a teenager. And I knew that there was more out there. And growing up, it was hard for me to reconcile this. I didn't have sort of strong women as a force in my life, except for, there were a few women that, as you look back now, you realize why you sort of saw them. And some of them were on TV. One ran a ranch, right? I just knew she was this amazingly strong woman who knew a lot about etiquette, which I found so fascinating, right?
So that would be one of your words, etiquette. Did you see Dave, the guest before?
No, I missed that part. Yeah. She was just, sort of larger than life. So I took off and started my career and had a great job working for the airlines. I went along and built this career, and I knew that I had to do that. That was up to me, right? And similar to Tony and Susan, you picked up on this, and I thought that was really great. I was working in Washington, D.C. for a cybersecurity training firm. I was running a couple of business units. I had a bunch of people under me. I had an amazing career, a dream job for many people, right? I was staying in fancy hotels. I would go to Orlando and New York City and all over the place. And it just wasn't enough. And I reached a point where I realized this was not fulfilling me. And so through our lives, real estate had kept bubbling up. And so we continued to buy real estate and invest in it and invest in ourselves. And on the side, while I was working my career, we built a real estate portfolio across 3 countries. And we've had a heck of a lot of fun with it as well. And we've, across Canada, across the US and the Caribbean. And this has given us financial security. This has given us the ability to do things that we wouldn't normally be able to do. I was then able to make the choice to leave that job, right? I could focus on what I wanted to do. And what I was being called to do was spend more time in a place where I was really happy and fulfilled. And that, for me, was my business background. I worked with a great team that they had, I think I was the only one who hadn't, gone to Harvard for an MBA and been to West Point, right? I had learned so much and had a great career. So I'm able to bring that, my real estate investing, and then this passion for personal and professional development together. And this all just, the universe speaks to us in funny ways sometimes, right? And there was a period of 6 months where this stuff didn't just whisper. Sometimes opportunity arrives on a whisper. No. This was a full rock band playing in my head and smacking me in the face. And I worked with a couple of coaches through that period. I believe in coaching and mentoring so much. I ended up on a mountaintop in Thailand, sort of, trying to figure my stuff out. And I realized this is it. I have to leave this job. I have to go do what I want. I can't half live this dream life. I can't have this much opportunity and have built this much and only go halfway with it. I got to go all in.
Good for you.
So I did. I left this, amazing job. There was a little bit of shock, to some people. It was all of a sudden, I had to depend on myself for my paycheck, which I was able to do. I had created a plan, right? I had built up this real estate portfolio, but my husband and I were owning this ourselves, right? And deciding the type of life we wanted to live. And this is what I want for other people. I get to wake up now every single morning and decide what I'm going to do that day. And I'm not saying everyone's life has to look like mine. Whatever your version of that is, it might be having the freedom to take your children to school or to volunteer or build a foundation and help, many people with things. But I want people to understand that they have it within them to take steps to build financial security to support that lifestyle, right? That big, rich, prosperous life in all ways. And so I have done that through, private coaching. And then this past year, I was able to co-found a company called Real Power that has the single purpose of empowering female real estate investors. Like, how amazing is that my job is now to gather in rooms or on webcasts with women who do want to take these steps. And we spend, entire weekends studying and learning how to do stuff. Oh, we have a dog who wants to live.
I was going to say, does your dog know how to open I can't even see the dog, but I saw that just the door open. Either you have a ghost or a pet that knows how to push the door open.
Totally. Yeah. He's nothing standing in his way, living his best life, right?
That's
we should probably
awesome.
learn more from dogs. So that for me is really important, that women and all of us sort of take those steps, create a plan, start to take action, get education, get a mentor, collaborate. In my private coaching, we work on mindset, money, and making it happen. And again, we've got to stop thinking of money as a dirty word or something that we shouldn't talk about, especially as women, right? We make 80 cents on the dollar for what men make. And that's if we're a white woman. If we're a woman of color or some type of minority or disabled, it's even less. We save up to 43% less for our retirement, yet we live longer.
Yeah.
That has got to stop. We often don't know our own financial situation. That's another thing that I love to walk women through. Just to get a little more financially literate, to know what there is, to understand, for example, how you can access, the equity in your home, how you create an emergency fund. I mean, I think that, the great Susie Orman has been telling us for years, right? Create that emergency fund. And it's easy for a lot of women to look at that and think, well, I'm never going to have to leave in the middle of the night. I don't need that. Your emergency fund doesn't have to be to escape domestic violence. Your emergency fund can be for a lot of other things, including fulfillment, education, hiring a coach, taking a course, going on a trip, that running away from home for a weekend.
Come visit us. We'll take you on. Just come here.
Yeah, and when you think the learning that we do when we travel, and we have traveled. My children only have my oldest son. By the time he was 10 years old, he only had 2 continents left to visit. And people ask me how we travel so much, and I say with carry-on bags only. But we learn so much when we travel, right? You put yourself in that situation where you're perhaps out of your comfort zone. You're meeting with people who live a different life, people who don't face the same sort of self-imposed pressures that we do, people that don't care how much your handbag cost or what kind of car you drive or what lessons your kids in. We learn so much from that on the richness of life. And, I remember one day specifically, we rode horses up into a mountain and we had all these supplies that we had taken to take up to this village. And it was so incredible to see everyone just resonate with something that people wanted, whether it was the kids to get paper and pens, and to see my son's face and his understanding. And he woke up the next morning, and of all the things he could do in this beautiful place, there was a beach and there was all of this stuff. All he wanted to do was go back to that village and play with the children he'd met the day before. That is a big, rich, prosperous life.
Exactly. We're so focused as a society on money being the thing, the goal that I got to tell you. If you can get aligned with an intention and believe that anything is possible, because anything is possible when you believe it is, the power of belief will outweigh money every single time. And I am living proof. Because I am no millionaire, and I have lived the life of a millionaire. And my exchange is an intention.
Yes.
Getting really clear and aligned in your belief with what it is you desire, and watch it show up faster than money. Faster. Yes. It's crazy.
Money helps us to live. It helps us make choices.
Helps us.
Often it's a tool, right? And
exactly.
And like you, I am walking that walk. I walked away from a mid-six-figure job, and I knew I didn't need that. All of those things I had chased. What I was enjoying in that job was helping other people, right? We had students in classrooms. I was helping instructors get better at their jobs. I was helping women and minorities get scholarships. That was the stuff that really drove me. Now, I'm not going to tell you that, the first month that the paycheck didn't arrive, I didn't have a holy smokes, what have I done moment. But I went back to my intentions and I understood. And, that it was a brief few moments where I think with anything, you move to a new place and you think, oh, what have I done? Even if it's perfect. But I knew I was on the right path. And I know I'm on the right path when I hear other women. And this is one other thing that I think is so important. And I think, when you hear people like Dave, who just spoke, who is a true hero, right? A veteran, a firefighter. I remember thinking, how on earth do I dare tell my story when that story is real and that is heroic? But what I have come to understand through this process is that there are so many women who need to hear my story, your story. They need that. We don't know who needs us to show up as our best that day and who's listening and who's watching. I got a note from a woman yesterday that, I don't know her at all. And she just told me 2 or 3 things that she had seen me say that have empowered her to take steps. And this woman has bought her first rental property. So she has a property that will provide her an income for the rest of her life if she needs it. She can pass this on to her children. She can teach her children how to be an entrepreneur or, to care for other people. The other thing is our kids understand that these aren't just buildings and houses. These are homes, right? If something happened to us, they have homes to look after. They have people who live in those homes. There are moms and dads and kids and, all of these cats and dogs that live in these things. And that is what we're doing. We're providing homes for people and vacations. We do a lot. We love vacation stuff. So, it's sort of natural to expand our business into that, right? That's where it all sort of started, this idea of having these homes and having that lifestyle. So I encourage people to think about, what do you want your days to look like? Start there. What do you want to do every day? And really delve into that. And I know we don't have time here, but what I want you to do is think about, what does my day look like?
Okay, wait a second. Hold on a second, girl. We got like 15 minutes. So I think I'm all about interactive. I think it's so important to be interactive in all this. And actually tomorrow I'm going to do an interactive, what I call freestyle tapping session. So I'm going to ask everybody to come to the table with a thought that they would like to leave on the stage tomorrow and plant with mind seeds. So we'll do that tomorrow, but I would love you to do You got 5 to 7 minutes. Let's do something.
Let's take a few minutes. Okay, so picture yourself in that bed, and picture
Wait,
fantastic
where are we picturing ourselves?
in bed in the morning before we get up.
Okay.
And I want you to feel those luxurious linens, that comfy pillow. Like, you love this bed. You love this bedroom you're in. You are in your favorite place. What do you see around you? What do you smell around you? How do those sheets feel? Is it a big fluffy duvet? Is it satin sheets? Really think about that. What do you hear? Are there birds chirping? I wake up to the sound of the fountain on my pool in the morning. And I can't tell you how delicious that is to me. For a Canadian, just to have a pool is lovely, right? Susan is not.
How often do you get to use it, or is it indoor?
No, this is my California house where I picture myself.
Oh, I was like, that better be an indoor pool in Canada.
Yeah.
I lived in Norway for 9 years, so I understand Canadian weather.
So I am hearing the birds. I'm hearing the water outside, right? I'm hearing chatter in the kitchen. People I love are up. I can smell coffee. I get out of bed. My feet touch the floor. I can feel that little carpet under there. I'm thinking about what's going to happen in this day. I'm going to go out there. There's the people I love. We're going to have coffee together. Then I sort of imagine what my day timer looks like. Is it filled with talking about real estate? Is it filled with looking at real estate? That's always one of my favorite things to do.
Me too.
Yeah. Is it filled with driving around to beautiful vacation properties? Is it filled with walking into a place that might kind of smell bad, but I get to dream about reimagining it? That might be what I want to do, right? So I want you to go through that exercise and think about that day. Think about how it sounds, how it smells, what you touch throughout the day. Imagine yourself through that entire dream day that is just an ordinary day in your life. You know, for me, there's dinner on a patio. There might be a little bit of live music off in a corner. And then there's coming back to sit around our fire pit in the backyard, you know, out by the pool. We have a little gas fire pit. And then tootling off to bed at 10 o'clock, just feeling absolutely happy and at peace. How do you create that lifestyle, right? Now, your lifestyle your dream day might be volunteering at a dog shelter, right? There's a lot of sounds and smells and feels in that day. So your day doesn't have to be mine, but I want you to go through all of the senses for that day. Write them down.
Great exercise.
To write this down, right? Write it down. Create a vision board of a day. Often people create a vision board of their lives. I love creating a vision board of a day. Chunk it down, right? The best way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. Think about those days because that's manageable, right? You can create a vision board that has the fancy car, the home, whatever it is on it. Still do that. We need to have the dreams. We need to live dream days every single day. It's about building for tomorrow while living for today.
That's a good one. Building for tomorrow while living for today. I have to say, something I picked up that you mentioned, that you said that you had flown to LA and you saw the lights like wrapped around the trees and you were like, someday I'm going to be there. So did you actually buy a home in that area?
Yes, and I have lights around my palm tree in my backyard.
Of course you do.
So for years, I lived not a couple of hours from where we bought this old motel and turned it into our everyday retreat getaway. And I knew I would come when I needed a day. I've been a solopreneur and an entrepreneur my entire career. So I hear you, like I hear people working in jobs in corporate companies for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. I cannot even imagine. I just can't. I mean, thank goodness I can't imagine because I don't think I do well. But anyway,
Can you imagine putting nylons on and going to an office?
No, you know what? One of the blessings we talked about having adversity become a blessing in our lives. One of the biggest blessings for me was contracting Guillain-Barré or Guillain-Barré syndrome and becoming paralyzed at 18. Because when I left that hospital, on almost 3 months to the day, walked out, I made an agreement with myself that I was going to, now that I had a second chance, I was going to make a life for myself as opposed to make a living to support the life I love. Yeah. Now, with that comes internal conflict because it wasn't about money for me ever. And I've lived this, I'm telling you, a life of 3 millionaires. And it has never been about the money. Finances haven't supported this. It has been the power of intention. Long story. But anyway, so here I am, however many years later, 8 years later, right on the Weeki Wachee River with 5 suites, waterfront suites, where now we welcome people from all over the world to come and have this experience as well. So it wasn't just the little place on the canal that I would kayak up and go, these houses are cute. It would be so nice to have one and meet people who are kayaking and invite them up for a glass of wine or a cocktail or, a chat.
Yeah.
Here we are. We've been RVing for 2 years all over the country, speaking, coaching remotely, and Elliot's in IT, my fiance. And I just wanted a little RV spot that we could pull in when we were in town, and it happened to come with a motel. And so we're starting.
When I talk about these events that we put on for women, it is amazing to walk into that room and have those women come in there and immerse in it, and building that forum for the women, that room where they can come in.
Absolutely.
That lights me up, right? Being able to facilitate that for other people. I mean, sure, it's lovely to get to stay in that nice hotel, but
it's not a motel or a hotel anymore. It's an everyday getaway. And it's important for people to come and see that you could have this too. I call it the look at my life, you can have this too life attitude, right? You can have this. It's not anything that I'm special.
No, I was just
not that.
Tell people that too. I'm not special. I just made decisions, and a lot of people thought I was crazy when I was making.
Oh, girl, my whole entire life has been like, what do you do when you're all over the place? I'm like, no, there's a plan. There's a global, I see the vision, and I'm living in this vision of limitless possibilities. So I think mindset is really important. I love that you say that you work with mindset, because it's where everybody has a mindset. But the question is, where is your mindset?
Yes.
I don't think we ask that question often enough. Everybody has a mindset. We're not like some of us do, some of us don't. But where is the mindset, and how is it framed? How is it designed? So like as a mindset,
align with other people who share and support that mindset, right? I think that's really important. I have found, that's why I say coaching, mentoring, communities, reading, podcasts, that all really matters, because you need to find that support. For some of us, you had the being paralyzed. I had this arbitrary expiry date of 47 years old. There was something sort of tangible.
Okay, I want to know how old you are now, though, only because you brought up age.
I had this birthday not long ago. I woke up alive on the 48th birthday not that long ago in Paris, right? So,
well, you look younger than that, but we won't say that to you.
But I think it's important on mindset. And then the other part, when I talk mindset, money, and making it happen, taking that step on the making it happen. Yeah. And this wasn't that we woke up one day and took a massive step, either of us. This was years of small choices, small decisions to step out of the comfort zone, to follow our why, to choose what we're aligned with, to be uncomfortable as heck sometimes, right? I have been in situations where I thought, what am I doing, right? Buying, we have a hotel property as well, and it's in a foreign country. That's a little frightening to take that as a step, but it's also a passion. And there's the great Marie Forleo, everything is figure outable. So as long as we are looking at that and thinking, what can I learn? How do I learn it? Who do I learn it from? Every time, surround yourself with people, find someone who has done what you want to do. Follow that person's path. Ask them questions. I mean, people who have made it along this journey farther than you are always going to be happy to share with you. I mean, look at
Absolutely.
we want to talk about it. We want to write about it. We want to help you in coaching programs. We are there for you, because I love nothing better than seeing that room full of women who are fired up. I love seeing them head out at the end of an event with their little to-do list, right? They've got the vision, they've got the action plan, and now we've got a support system around them. That is incredible. To me, that is just such a gift to be able to share with other people. And like you I wasn't special. I wasn't born into some special circumstances. I didn't have anything crazy happen to me. I just was slow and steady, understood where I wanted to go, was very blessed to cross paths with some wonderful people who did support this, and sort of was able to go, well, this doesn't support that lifestyle, right? And this does. When Tony was talking about health, the chocolate chip brown, cookies are really fun, but this, healthy, nutritious vegetable dish is going to get me where I want to go. And oh, it's actually yummy too, so I need to do more of that. That's what we talk about with mindset, right? You're trying to choose the things that will lead you forward and help you more, and they can be just as yummy.
Yeah, Deanna, I want to jump in for a second, because I love so much of what you said. I mean, I've been nodding my head. I'm surprised it hasn't just popped off, because you're speaking my story. However, I was laid off. I didn't choose to leave, right? God finally said, Smack, you got to go, right? You got to go. You're not listening, right? But the fact that you like you said, you were in Tony's similar situation. You had this lifestyle with all this money, but it wasn't enough. And so you moved on. And girl, don't ever, ever think that your story, every single one of them, isn't worth sharing. You just about brought me to tears when you said that, because it's not that you have just chosen to have the life that you're having. You've chosen to teach others to have it too, which is huge, right? When you said, and you were speaking my story when you said can't and can are huge for me, okay? When you said can't, I can't just sit by and live this life. I can't just do, yeah, you can. You chose not to. And that's huge, right? And what you're teaching people, sister, you're speaking my language, and I just love what you're doing, because it's not just your life, right? And I want to touch really quickly too on what you said about your son. I think you said he was 10. And you gave them the experience and the education. And these people that think, I need to keep my kids in school from the time kindergarten starts till the time grade 12 is done. I mean, I'm not knocking the school system, but if they have an opportunity to travel, if they have an opportunity to experience life, that's what they're going to remember. And that's what they're going to take into their decisions as to what they want to do, right?
Amen.
You made that decision to be with those kids, like,
yeah, they will be better citizens because of it, right? Yeah. I truly believe that they see so much, and even the sort of typical travel where they get to go and stay in motels and just be out of their comfort zone, that's really good. But when they can have those experiences, and that's one thing we always held dear when we traveled, was this idea of sort of slow travel. We sat at a little cafe in Nice and just people watched for hours, right? And then started talking to people, to practice their French. Those types of experience become really important. And this same child, I will tell you, he struggled later on in school. He's very smart, and he struggled with that. He couldn't quite handle what was going on as he was growing up. So he came home with a program that was a private school out of Ontario that takes them on experiential learning. So he spent 40 days in Europe doing social studies and English. And so they went to the Globe Theatre and studied Shakespeare. They went to Normandy and studied the landings. They went to a concentration camp. And that was about 12 days into the trip. I hadn't heard from him. And all of a sudden, my phone started blowing up that day. And there was so much that came out of these types of experiences. And now, they both went to university abroad. They did semesters abroad, all of that sort of thing. And they're world travelers. He was just living in the Netherlands, and he is such a good human because of this, right? And I see it, and I see how his experience, and he understands his privilege. He understands that he has work to do, and this generation below us, I think, have just grown up to be better humans in some ways, because they're not as worried about saving up in their IRAs and their RRSPs. It is different for them, and if we can somehow harness a bit of that as well, I think that's great for us.
Absolutely. So how could somebody find you?
So you can find me a couple of places on social media, Deanna Boyden, Instagram or Facebook. I have a couple of websites. So deannaboyden.com for my private coaching programs. And if you are a woman in real estate who's interested in joining our adventure there, it's real-power.ca. And I will
perfect. Yeah. So not in this chat on the StreamYard chat, but in the chat underneath where we're actually posting our interviews, which is the Blue Talks Flip Your Script Experience, LinkedIn, YouTube. I think Blue Talks Amplify Your Message. So anywhere you want to kind of reach out and find it, or you could reach out to Corey and find out where he's actually hosting this interview right now. Feel free to put that information in for anyone who's going to watch the replay.
That's great. Yes. Well, thank you so much for your time and for sharing and for all you do to bring these stories out. And, if we can resonate with people and help people to live these better lives, what more could we ask for in life, right?
Right. And before we go, because we do have one more minute, I want to go back to your mind seed, because mind seeds are very important. It's very important to have a mind seed to replace your thought weed with. So choices and voices, for women, to use their choices and voices to choose the lifestyle of your own design.
To create
the lifestyle.
Yes, use your choices and voices to create a lifestyle of your own design. And then go back and underline own design, not somebody else's, not what we've been told all our lives. Sit quietly, be a polite girl. That's out the window. You choose your life, you go create it. Mindset, money, and making it happen.
In a world of limitless possibilities.
Yes.
For sure. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. We are still here until Corey, does his thing behind the scenes. So that was it.
We are.
And there she is. It's like boom, boom, boom. Okay. Everybody take a deep breath.
And we're going into pressure-free living. How appropriate, right?
I know, right? That was like,
another.
How are you?
I'm great.
Is it Elle?
Elle, one syllable, yes.
Elle. Well, my name's Elise. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Elise. Nice to meet you too.
And this is Susan, my wonderful co-host. It's been a pleasure, Susan. Really.
It has been.
Hi, Susan. Nice to meet you.
You as well.
So where in the world are you?
I'm in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
All right. We got 3 staters today. Usually it's more Canadians, and I'm like the token American.
Oh, hilarious. Yeah. I live on the edge of a forest, and pretty happy here. So.
Oh, that's awesome. We have you said Michigan, right? Grand Rapids. Mm-hmm. I'm in Florida, and I have to say, people from Michigan and New York are neck and neck. Like if you ask, it's almost like they're so close. You ask somebody either from Michigan or New York. I mean, there's a lot in between, but those 2 are usually in the running.
Yeah.
So you live on the edge of a forest, which sounds pretty pressure-free already. Like I could already feel it. Is there snow?
Actually, it's a rainy day and the snow is leaving us today. So we're in a little bit of a melt, and probably heading that to Canada to the people in Toronto in a little while. So I was on the phone with a friend in Canada earlier today. So yeah, it's a little bit of a melt. And some birds were singing this morning. So that's
a good sign.
Yeah. I love the snow, though. I like it here. But, I did just recently move here, and for 30 years, we raised our kids in Battle Creek, Michigan. So,
What's the difference? Like, I'm not sure.
it's actually like how we lived. We raised our kids in a cool way. We were on the corner of 3 very different neighborhoods, so every kind of kid played at our house.
Mm-hmm.
So it was upper middle class, kind of those little tiny war boom homes, so lower middle class, and then real extreme poverty going down this way. So every kind of kid played at our house. We had the big yard, so we're kind of like a park in a way. My husband was like the Pied Piper of Hamelin, like with all these little.
Oh, that's fun though.
It was cool. Like we taught them how to garden. We did so many cool things with these kids, and so we raised our kids there for 30 years, and then just recently moved here to be close to our 2 older boys who have a business here, and my youngest is in New York at Columbia. So.
Oh, nice. So you have 3 sons.
3 sons.
My 3 Sons. Wasn't that a TV show? Remember that show?
And you're as old as I am, so.
I just dated myself. I just popped up. I forgot about that show, but I used to watch it a lot.
Yeah.
Did you have My 3 Sons in Canada?
Well, I grew up in New Hampshire.
Well, Susan's.
Yeah, we had My 3 Sons in Canada. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, it was what my parents always used to watch. So. See how I did that? I brought myself down in age.
Yeah, you did. That's funny. So, pressure-free living.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd like to find out the story of how you got to pressure-free living, or did you just come out of the womb knowing how to live a pressure-free life?
No. You know better.
Well, listen, there are those anomalies that just come down and can play the piano even though they can't see, or they could sing. So you never know.
That's
Might have
true.
just been your calling from birth.
And actually, you're bringing up a really good point that deep inside, I don't want to cry. Gosh, I'm getting emotional already.
I'm good like that. I'll tell you. I'm surprised you're the first.
Deep inside us, I would say that we already know this. It's like deep inside you, you're a little bit of an angel walking around on the planet. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
So I think in some respects, and I think to something, I lost my Grammy a long time ago, but I had this one grandmother. She was a woman who never raised her voice, like ever. No one ever heard her raise her voice or get into a tone. Do you know what I mean? Like she was just a beautiful, beautiful person. And I remember her saying to me that I used to call everybody honey. I was just a little girl, right? But like, she goes, you thought everyone was good. That's kind of interesting because they weren't all good to me.
Well, it's very sweet.
It is, and they weren't all good to me. Like, so it's fascinating what we bring forward into the world and what happens. But no, there's a couple.
But I think her confirmation that you think everybody is good, that was definitely in addition to the. You know what I mean? That added a whole different perspective. Because listen, in the South, you could be honey or you could be honey.
Oh, right.
You're not always a good honey around here. I'm learning that from New York. When you come to the South, it's, bless your heart, honey, or,
Right. Yeah.
So she infused the sweetness in that. So go ahead.
Yeah. So no, I didn't come into the world knowing this. And there were some things that were very intuitive, but there were some reasons that this came into being. And the number one reason was I mentioned our sons. I was creating a completely different business in 2010. I had a mentor in my life who actually didn't think I should be doing what I was trying to create and said, stay open. And just 2 nights later, we brought our dining room table with us back there, but big old dining room table. That's where everybody used to sit around and just chat. And one night my sons, just 2 nights after my mentor said that to me, my 2 older boys were sitting at the table with me, and my eldest said, Mother, you should coach our baseball team in your mental toughness tips. So we could win the state championship if you would teach them what you teach us. And I thought, who wants their mother in the dugout?
That's a huge compliment.
Yeah.
Like, huge compliment.
I looked at my middle son. He's like, Mom, we want you to do this. So that weekend, it just poured out of me. I started writing. So I'm a professional violinist, conductor. I managed symphonies for years, so I was an executive. So I'm just like writing all this stuff down. My husband is a pro writer. He like tightens the language, throws some baseball graphics. And I brought what I had to the tough coach, you know, the guy with the chew in his mouth and the arms folded, and you know, he's just not going to believe what I say.
Right.
I taught that because I knew if I got in front of the boys, they'd roll their eyes if this guy didn't go along with what I was sharing. So I brought it to him first, and he's like, wow, this has merit. You should work with the boys. So take it to the head coach. I completely support you. Well, this was 2010, and the head coach was a financial planner. And when I shared with him what I wanted to do with the boys, I'm like 10 minutes into describing it, and he goes, hold on, I need this. Will you be my private coach? And so a few days later, I was talking with my department chair at the college where I've taught violin for years. And I say, let me tell you what I'm working on these days. And she goes, oh my gosh, I need this. And she grabbed her checkbook. I didn't even know what to say. Like, you know, so it was very organic how this started. But then it was like a download from above. And years of study and research started coming into play, especially something I did back in my grad degrees. So I was doing a double master's, an MBA, and an MM in music at University of Michigan. And I was the first woman in orchestral conducting there. So there was a lot of spotlight on me and a lot of pressure, to be honest. But I was sailing through it. Like I was just doing really well. But I had an incident happen, not conducting, but with my violin. We would call it a panic attack today. But I'd never had stage fright. I love the big stage. I've always loved performing. And in this particular instance, I was playing for a guy's recital. We walked out on stage, and usually recitals are just a few people in the room. It's a small room, standing room only, 3 deep, and the entire string faculty had come out to see this. And I don't know if that's what it was. You know, it's usually like who's in the room. But I lost it. And I thought I was having a heart attack on stage. So my hands were sweaty. I couldn't hardly do my bow. I couldn't see the music. I have to lead this whole thing, right? And afterwards, I had tears in my eyes. I go backstage and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I just ruined your performance. He goes, what are you talking about? I mean, I was enough of a pro to play well, but I felt horrific. And
like you were removed from the situation.
Oh, it was, I'd never experienced anything like that. And for anyone who has a panic attack for the first time, I mean, it is.
Oh, I was in the ambulance on the way to an ER, so gotcha.
Yeah, it's frightening. So I got back to my apartment. I'm like, this can't ever happen to me again. Certainly can't happen on the podium in front of 70 people, right? So I went, we didn't have any phones or internet or anything back then. I went to the medical library where I had done some research for a project before, and I'm like, I'm just going to dig in. And I went to the research librarians and said, hey, I'd like anything about mind-body connection. So there wasn't a lot of research back then. I said, I want to know what happened to me, and I don't want that to ever happen again, right? So I've got to figure this all out. And that's kind of when I started that little set of tools so that I could perform well, that I was naturally just teaching to my kids and to my violin students. But in 2010, when the boys asked me to do that, what I realized when it comes to fight or flight, because there are 2 floods of hormones, when those 2 floods of hormones do their cycle, it takes males up to 9 hours before their cells are clear of these hormones and you're back to normal. But for females, it's an up to 24-hour response. So I looked at that and I said, oh my gosh, when was I last clean, number one? And I've got to help these young men all day long not release the stress cycle, not go into that cycle of stress hormone release that prevents them from being their best selves and performing at their best when they get to their game. So that's what I started digging into. And the easiest way to describe what I do and what the pressure-free method is it breaks the stress cycle. So you don't release these 2 floods of hormones. Your brain can work at a level you never really imagined it could. And I can say that personally for myself. And your body, all of the processes of your body start to work optimally. So if you have digestion issues, if you have heart issues, if you have skin issues, I had terrible skin issues, especially this hand, for 35 years. Nothing fixed it until I created this method and used it on myself. Dense fibrous breast tissue. My breast tissue completely changed in 8 weeks. Like, what's happening here? So basically, I help people understand what they're overreacting to, what they're releasing stress hormones about. And like you say, flip the script. I see you flip the script there, Elise.
Flip your script, yeah.
So oftentimes it's internal triggers, thoughts in our head.
Well, that's what this, for me, it's the internal script. I mean, that's the root of it is the root script, but it's so subconscious and it's so buried sometimes that it runs on autopilot.
Absolutely. Yeah. These habits of reaction aren't just your own that you've built, they're generations old. And not just from the people who raised you, from anyone you emulated. So it could have been a teacher in school, a coach, a pastor, somebody that you liked. There are leaders today that hype people up so much, they're spilling so much adrenaline that they're harming themselves. Just sitting in the congregation, just sitting at the lecture. There are coaches today that get you so ramped up on adrenaline so that you feel good, that euphoria for a little while, but then you crash. And your body is seriously crashing. So you emulate when you emulate people, you pick up these little habits of reaction and then you build them into your own ways of being. So
I'm digging you, Elle. Like really digging you, resonating. Like I'm calling you right after the show, right after.
Oh my gosh.
So let me ask you this. So as an EFT practitioner, a lot of what you're saying resonates so much with me personally, because EFT really saved my life and brought me into a whole new way of being. Still have my moments and still have challenges because I didn't get the get out of being human free card. So I'm curious, like the process, like if somebody came to you or had the conversation and pulled out their checkbook, like I want to know why they pulled out their check. There has to be like a secret ingredient in there.
There is a secret, yeah. So I'm just going to teach. Is that okay? Can I just do it?
Yes, come on, let's do it.
Yes, please.
Fantastic. Okay, so I like to keep things really simple. I'm going to do just 2 little things with you. I'm going to do what I call the ABCs, pressure free, and then the 3-step method.
Okay.
So, and how much time do we have together? Just so that I
1:30. You have a half hour.
Half hour, perfect.
You have until 2:00. Yeah.
Beautiful. So I like to use a lot of alliteration, so it's easy to remember. The A's of pressure free are these emotions, these affects. Angry, annoyed, anxious, afraid, argumentative, ashamed, and any sort of abuse. And when I use the word abuse, it could just be the tone of voice someone's talking to you. Or it could be a sound or an interrupter when you're working hard on a project. Something's come into your environment that's just shook you up a little bit. So it doesn't have to be like a huge past abuse, though it could be, and it's roiling in your head still, but it could just be this small little thing getting in your environment. So those are the 8 affects. And when you feel any of those, when you start to feel any of those, it's a clue that a trigger's starting to work on you. So we can identify how we feel much better than the trigger, actually. Usually we know what we're feeling. So when you start to feel one of those emotions, I'll share in the method what to do. But the first thing is just acknowledgement and recognizing. Oh yeah, I really get annoyed when I see dirty socks on the floor. Or I really get annoyed when there's clutter on the dining room table. All those things, anything that causes you to feel that. The B's are behaviors. So when we trigger fight or flight, we'll move into these types of behaviors. The B word, snippy, snappy, impatience. You might get very bossy. You may even bully people and not even be aware of it. through the tone of your voice or your movements, your actions. Some people get very blaming. They finger point. Oh, it's his fault I don't have my degree yet. It's her fault that we're not on time right now. We're finger pointing. Some people binge. So they'll binge secret little stores of chocolate in their desk drawer. They'll binge food, alcohol, weed, Netflix, anything to feel better. So binging behavior is a clue that you're triggering fight or flight. Some people will say to me, you know what, Elle, I just feel like my brain is broken.
Broken brain.
Working. I'm unfocused. I can't stay on track. So anything like that. And then, of course, burnout, overwhelm, burnout. You feel like you need time off. One of the beautiful things about my method is you don't have to take time off or slow down to de-stress. It's actually a myth. You don't have to. It's not how stress works. And you can take all the time in the world and then you get back to work and you're back in it. Some people need vacations from their vacations. So it's interesting. Whatever your reactions are, that's what's happening for you. So those are your B's. The C's are words that my clients have used to say, this is how I feel using this method. They feel more calm, more confident, more composed and in control in situations where they felt out of control before. Congruent, so inside outside matching. We have a lot of imposter syndrome and comparisitis today. So when how you feel on the inside matches the outside, it's such a relief.
Yes, it is.
Such a relief. And so congruent is a word that comes up. Courageous also. My clients will tend to take on challenges and things that they never dreamed they could because they finally feel like they can, or they dust dreams off the shelf because they have more time. In fact, I just started a certification program. We met the other night, and a person who took my course last summer is now in that program, and she says, do you know what? I've gained 3 hours in my day. Now, I gained about an hour and a half to 2 using this on me. But she's like, no, I've gained 3 hours of productive time now. It's so cool to have that happen because you're finally getting a real night's sleep. So then you have a beautiful day. You're not tired when you get done work, so you can be with your family and do things. It's just really beautiful. So those are the C's. Courageous is one of them. These are really what leads you to success in anything. Anybody who's watching right now or watches the replay, you've made a decision to spend some time on this. So when you make a decision, decidere, we've cut things off. This is what we're doing. So when I'm working with someone new, I'm like, okay, we're going to make this decision to play with this, to have some fun here and to see if this helps you. And then it takes a little determination to do this because you're changing habits of reaction. But then it just becomes a daily discipline. Or I just finished work with a vice president of a Fortune 500 company. She goes, oh my gosh, this is a lifestyle. Like, you know, she's a woman who grew up on a farm, very rural. And she's like, this is just so cool that I don't have to work so hard anymore. She's used to working hard. So it becomes a daily discipline, but the big D word is deserving. And deserving, what I mean by that is you have to go deep inside your heart to say, you know what, I deserve to have a beautiful life. No matter what has happened, your past reactions do not determine your future. The crap that has happened back there, it's like reach deep in your heart and just start to turn that key a little bit. Say, you know what, I don't have to have a broken brain. I can really start to move into something different. Those are the D's. E's are more words like the C's. So empowered, enlightened. One of the big things I do at the beginning of my work with anyone is deeply enlighten them about how fight or flight works in them. Get very specific to what they feel. Because some people, it's all up here, headaches, migraines, tension in the jaw, TMJ, the whole. For some people, it's my heart's beating on my chest, my throat closes, I can't breathe. And other people, it's gut. So everyone is different in what they experience. So we dive deeply into that. So they're enlightened about why it's happening. what these hormones are doing to cause all of that. And then empowered. One person said, I feel so extraordinary now.
It's a good word.
Yeah, extraordinary. One person says, I just have so much more enthusiasm for life. So enthusiasm, energy, of course, wake up energized instead of fatigued. And my son, the eldest son who first said, I want you to do this, Mom. He came down one morning, waking up. He's a teenager, right? Senior in high school. He's waking up earlier and earlier. It's like 5 a.m. We're both awake downstairs. He goes, I just feel so calm and exhilarated. I mean, what?
Exhilarated. That's a good word.
5 a.m. He's the son too. He turns 30 this year, but he texts me every morning. He says, morning, mother, I love you. He goes, we're going to have an amazing pressure-free day, or a pressure-free day today, but it's always something about pressure-free. So it's like every day. It's really cool. He's quite a guy. So
that's come full circle, right?
I was going to say, he's got quite a mom.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. He brought it out of you, and now you're bringing out the best in him.
Yeah. And you know, where we really saw it was our youngest. So he was 10 when we created this. And I actually wrote a parenting book where I included this, and he allowed me to. But he was having a lot of anger issues, a lot of control issues. He's very self-structured, brilliant little boy, but he thought he was horrible at math. He had a lot of, he was just really hard on himself. And it was getting to the point where it was like, I was going to take him to a friend of mine who's a psychologist. I'm like, I think he's like, oh, it's probably just a phase. He knows my kids really well. And I'm like, no. I think there's something more going on here. That was the very month that I created Pressure Free. So we start incorporating it as a family, and he starts using it, and he never had an angry outburst again. Like, it just went away. And I don't share any of this because, like, I'm bragging his mom. Actually, I never use the word pride either. My sons create what they create in life. So 7 years later, he was valedictorian of his class, valedictorian of the elite math and science center deal he was in. He was waitlisted Harvard, Yale, in Columbia, in early Michigan, wanted Columbia, went to Columbia. He was over a 4-point TA his junior year in the psych department. Like, it's just ridiculous. And everything he does, he's a marathoner. He did 4 marathons in 4 months. Like, it's really wild to watch. And here's what my middle boy said. He goes, you know what, Mom? Part of it is that he can now trust, this is back a while ago, he can now trust his parents' reactions because you guys aren't going to overreact. So it was the whole family environment that was changing with Pressure Free, which allowed the youngest to grow up in this space where he could trust our emotional reactions to things. That's huge.
Yeah. And Susan, I'm sure you find this too, like with clients. I mean, some of the biggest challenges that an adult has is that their inner child doesn't have that trust of their parents' response. And they've spent their entire life trying to figure out what the response was going to be. Oh, yeah. Talk about A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, like, right, like.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, what I got from that and everything you're saying, Elle, is that, you know, you're really creating this inner child to have its own parent in the adult self of the inner child, right? Yeah. Because you're creating that oneness within that one being.
Yes. Right? Yeah. And you can parent yourself.
Amen.
If you didn't get it, you can parent yourself. And
even if you did get it, like I got it.
If you did get it, yeah.
But I didn't like what I got because I was like,
right.
I don't know if I like that, right? And I tend to parent myself the way my mom parented me, but with a little more compassion because I have a little more patience and I saw it from an outside, right?
That's huge, Susan. That's true. Yeah. And you know, and when you grow up in an environment, in a challenged environment, everybody does the best they can with where they are and what they know and what they're capable of. However, as a child, you don't have the wherewithal to figure all that out. And even as an adult, when we do, we're still we're still who we are.
Yes. Yeah. Right.
So for me, I feel like that's what enabled me. I became the parent I would have wanted,
Yeah.
right? And now I do a lot of what I do. I work with inner children and children because I recognize what it's like not to have what I knew I needed. Like we know what we need.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's the most frustrating part, is when we don't get in and we're told we're wrong. So here you've created this beautiful home, like literally a home within themselves. The home is them.
Yes, that's right. That's right. It's really beautiful to see. And so back to this little alphabet, just a couple of more letters here. F. Of course, fight, flight, right? We're either going to get aggressive and fight, or we're going to flee to protect ourselves from this supposed attack, even though it's just dirty socks on the floor, whatever it is. So there's a few more F's. Some people freeze. They feel very stuck and they can't make decisions well. It's because the cortex is shut down. Also, you'll lack willpower. That's why you binge. It's not your fault that you don't go out and exercise and you eat instead. It's because your willpower is actually shut down. And also your hippocampus, so you can't think very well or make decisions based on memory because your memory's shut down. So this whole thing isn't working very well. Some people fib, and I learned this from one of my clients who has ADHD, an adult, and she goes, yeah, add this F, because we'll make up little lies because you don't want people to know the truth. That's that kind of imposter. Great on the outside, I got everything all together, but in the inside, the project isn't done yet. Or whatever it is. So you'll make up a little lie, like, oh, it's almost done, because they don't want you to think, you don't want them to think you're not working on it, but really you haven't even started. And that really erodes you too, when you're making up those little lies like that. On it, we've all done little things like that just to protect our butts. And then fawn, so over flatter. And fawning, you're like over flattering. Yeah, so you'll see, think about, I just go back to like elementary school where there's a girl who really wants to be in the group, but people aren't letting her in. And she's like, oh, I love your dress. She's like jumping up and I love your dress. She wants in so much to the tribe. It's when we exclude. So we'll over flatter to try and get into the tribe. You'll see it at conferences, like if you attend events. I always watch for people who are like standing by the wall. They just don't feel included. I go to them. They don't feel, and it's terrible if you spend all that money and go to a conference and you're not meeting anybody, but you're scared, so you're over there against the wall. But then there's people who are like trying to get into this little circle. Oh my gosh, I see it. I'm like, they're not letting them in, right?
That's really interesting, because what I tend to do is I tend to do both of those things, right? A bit of an introverted extrovert, and I'll say to somebody who I see suffering the same as I am, right? And I'll go over to them and say, you know, I really love that outfit that you're wearing, or you have a beautiful smile. You should come with me and share this with all these people. So I got a bit of both of that going. That's interesting.
I was going to say, I'm like, here in my mind, I'm like, you know what? I think I do both. Like, but if I really like the shirt, I'm going to tell you I really like the shirt. Like, if I really like your vibe, I'm going to tell you I really like your vibe.
Right.
But but I do sympathize with that in the corner, because I feel that too. And sometimes I won't even go to the conference. Oh. Even though I have an extroverted exterior, but I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah. And it's interesting. You can start to notice if you're flattering someone, is your heart rate jacked up? That'll tell you if you're doing it out of fight or flight.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna check next time. I don't think so.
Like if you're just, because I love to tell people, especially people behind the counter, like my cashiers at my corner store, at the grocery store, I'll be like, oh, that's a cool hairdo today. I notice them, but I'm not.
Yes.
I'm not trying to over flatter so they like me. I'm noticing them as a human. I'm being a human.
Okay, that's more. I think I'm checking in. That's more my speed. I mean, there's some other letters in there that I'm definitely doing, but the fawning, it's not fawning. It's just plain old flattery.
Yeah. You're just connecting. That's connecting.
Right. Is that a
G's,
C
3
word?
simple words for G's. I do a lot with goal setting with my clients in an interesting way that's not stressful. And then generous and gentle, because we're just not generous or gentle enough with ourselves and with others today. And so I really encourage people to be patient as they use what I'm about to teach next, because you could really beat yourself up seeing all the ways you've triggered over the past however many decades and just get caught up in that and not make progress. So just be gentle and generous with yourself as you learn anything new. It takes a while for us to, learning curve here until we start turning up the other way. H's are kind of fun. The first is your heart space, and I'd love it if you two would do it with me. But imagine your shoulders going really wide toward the wall and even down into your ribs, like going wide. And just taking up your space physically. The moment you do that, you open up this heart space. So it can feel a little vulnerable because people tighten here to protect. So when we open here, it can feel a little vulnerable sometimes, but that's how you can super connect to people, your clients, your friends, your family, your intimate partner. When you go wide, you actually open and they'll feel that energy. Children super feel it. They're like, oh, I can trust that lady. Like, they'll feel good about that. And then this one's kind of weird, but you have permission to touch your own butt. I want you to grab your butt, sit up a little, grab your butt, pull the muscles back so it supports your lower back. So you're sitting on your hamstrings. The H here is your hamstring muscles. So you're on your femur.
So you're not really on your butt. You're on your thigh, almost like your thighs.
Correct. You're on your legs. Feels a little strange at first. It takes a while to get used to this, but your glute muscles are to propel you forward and to support your lower back. A lot of people have back issues.
That feels better already.
Yeah. And if you feel back in your lumbar region, you'll feel the curve.
Mm-hmm.
And now slide back so you're sitting back on your butt and you'll feel how that curve is not as pronounced. And then if you slump, it flattens right out. So you want a beautiful lumbar curve. And by getting your butt back, your glutes,
I didn't even know that was a thing.
It is a thing.
It is a thing. I could feel it. My lower back's like really happy right now.
Yes. Yeah. So when you're on your hamstrings, think of it this way. When a dog is scared, it tucks its tail, right?
Mm-hmm.
Protect. It tucks its tail. So when you're sitting on your butt, if you had a tail, it would be tucked.
Mm-hmm.
What is that sending signals to your nervous system about? Am I scared?
Yeah.
Do I need to be protective here? And so when you go wide and you get your butt back, you're literally telling your brain, I must be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I love that so much. Thank you so much. I do that stuff naturally. Like I hold space for people and I go wide and I feel my heart and I get really emotional. And I always tend to sit up because I have bad back. Right. And so, but I didn't know the science behind it.
Yeah.
Well, then it goes to the pineal gland, right? So when you take that breath, it's going straight up and filling that space. I usually put a pillow when I'm meditating, like so it raises it up. But just pulling it like this feels even more solid.
Yeah. And there's probably some males watching here too, but a lot of women have money and intimacy issues. When you get your glutes going back like that, it can feel vulnerable, but that opens all of that up for you. Because it's like you're not trying to hide and protect. We tighten our abs and we tighten our body armor to protect. And then our throat goes into that tight talk, that tone that other people don't like very much.
I'm just being clear.
Right.
I'm always like, well, I might not have been clear in the past. I'm just being clear now. That's my clear voice.
So when you go wide, your throat opens wide too. It's more mellifluous. It's more flowing. It's more beautiful. Yeah.
Like your voice?
I never would show my neck in the past because it was like, but now it's all beautiful. It's kind of fun.
Well, you do have a beautiful voice, and I'm not fawning on you. I'm just letting you know. Doesn't she, Susan? Isn't her voice very like?
And I'm fawning all over her. I love your voice. Amazing. I love your outfit. I love your hair.
Well,
I want to be you.
You can make the list. You can make the list of the 12 things all about Elle now. Was it Tony or from Dave?
Yeah.
The 12 qualities. You've got them all, Elle.
Oh
I don't
my
know.
gosh. All right.
Okay,
So
moving on.
the last stage is your head, because we're on our phones a lot. We're down. And since 2020, we've really closed into smaller worlds. Get your head up and look out at the horizon now and then. I learned this from my body coach, Leela Veronica. Like, get your head out. Look out at the horizon every once in a while, because we just don't. And it gives you a better perspective. It gets you up and over the smaller problems so you can start to analyze them and look at them. So that's a little ABC rubric of Pressure Free. Now the method. 3 simple steps. Step 1, targets. What are you aiming for? They tend to fall into performance targets, relationships, and health. So money, love, health. And so I really encourage people to dream big when they think about what could be possible, because once you start to break that stress cycle, things become amazingly possible for people. But we have to start with, like, I call it the silver rope of hope. Like, we have to just get a little bit of hope in there first, that something can start to change. That's like turning that deserving key idea. Like, we're just going to get a little bit in there, but then start dreaming. Honestly, you guys, sometimes I have people say to me, they'll talk about, like, I think about this one 14-year-old girl. She'd been in chronic anxiety for 2 years. She tells me, I want to be a graphic designer. I want to move to California. Da, da, da. And then she goes, you know what, Elle? I just want to feel happy again.
And that's why we want to do anything.
Yeah, that was her target. And she wanted it so much. And we started working together. In 2.5 weeks, she had her breakthrough. She went a full day without triggering the stress response. That is what I always do with my clients. We have to get a whole day for you to feel what that is like, because it's like hitting the reset button. That night, you probably get the first real night's sleep of your life. The next day, you feel different. And then we just start to stack days. But it starts with the gradual, like, hour, moment by moment, hour by hour, till we can finally get a whole day. But she was so connected to her vision of happiness, what that would look like for her. And so it was incredible to see how quickly the transformation happened for her. Most of my clients, it's between 4 and 8 weeks that it takes them to get that first full day, So, and we're patient. I had one person, it was months, because the stress was just so in every fiber of their being. So we're not in a hurry here. We can't be. Because if you're in a hurry, you're tense and it's not going to happen.
And it's not pressure free.
It's not pressure free. By pressure free, what I mean is no matter what challenges or stressors or pressures come your way, you stay free of these stress hormones. That's what that means. Some people will say to me, I love pressure. I'm like, well, let's really dig into that for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
You like challenges. You like action. That's fabulous. Are you triggering the stress response or not? That's a different question. So I define stress very narrowly as you've released the stress hormones. That's a different question. So targets, triggers. Step 2. What makes you feel those A emotions? Angry or annoyed, anxious or afraid, ashamed, argumentative, abused. What makes you feel those? And I'd love to say, start gently. Just pick a couple, especially like early morning ones. If you wake up to a Power Ranger alarm, wank, 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 it's probably a trigger for you. So change up your alarm, watch for sounds, watch for smells. If I almost drowned and I almost burned when I was a little girl. So if I smell something burning, it's an instant trigger for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's just instant. Even to the fact, like when I'm around a campfire, I just have to really relax because it just happens, So triggers, 3rd step, tools and the 10-second solution. So from a resting heart rate, it takes up to 10 seconds before the mechanisms in your brain tell your heart rate to charge up, tell the adrenal glands to release that first flow of hormones. 10 seconds is plenty of time to relax your abs. The moment you relax your abs, relax your abs, like put your hand on your belly and just deeply relax your abs. You probably had a little tension there. So we've been
just let it sag down, you mean? Just like let it go.
Let it all hang out. That's a 70s phrase right there, okay? Like just let it relax out into your hand, like a Buddha belly, okay? Like
or a muffin top.
Yeah, just let that beautiful muffin top come out. So if you feel your belly, you got a couple minutes here, like feel your hands and go down, and you'll feel where it tucks back in. Like, okay, that's your power center. We learned that in conducting. Like if you're conducting way up here in orchestra, you don't really care. You got to come lower down to your power.
Are you talking like your womb?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so where the belly comes back in, tucks back in, the samurai talk about that. That's your power center. That is your deepest place. When you relax here, you literally tell yourself you're okay because you don't need to build body armor to protect yourself. We don't have ribs down there. So our abs serve as ribs to protect our parts. So when you relax, the brain says, oh, you must be fine.
Oh my gosh, you're gonna make me cry now. And I'm not gonna talk about it, but like the timing, like, oh, I just love the magic of the universe.
Amen.
And showing up, and who shows up. It's like, to me, it's always like a mystery. Like, I love waking up in the morning and going, today is a road trip. Like, I don't care if I'm just going from one spot to my computer and meeting people from across the world, or going to the grocery store. Like, I'm always amazed when the magic just happens.
Oh, yeah.
And your magic, Elle.
Thank you so much.
That's another fawn for you. How many fawns? But it's true, and it's, you need to, and somebody who, I think it's important too, though, to encourage people to compliment. You know what I mean? Like, to give compliments also takes somebody out of their comfort zone. Like, if you really, because that's kind of an awkward thing too. Like, I'm not really hitting on you. I'm just telling you you're gorgeous and you're a girl, like, that piece is an important piece, I think, in the matrix.
I so agree. I really agree. And acknowledging. One of the things I say is, how do you instill confidence, not just in yourself, but in others? And it's you can do that through a compliment.
Yeah. Well, I mean everything I say.
It's fun. Wow. We're out of time. I can't believe it. But
yes.
Okay, wait. We have a couple of minutes, though. Go ahead, Susan.
You might have said this already, Elle, but who is your primary? Like, I can see you helping so many people.
Oh, yeah.
In so many areas. Who do you primarily work with? And in what is the biggest, I want to say the biggest takeaway is the only thing that's coming to mind. But what do you leave people with?
Wow.
I can tell you right now.
I
feel calmer. I feel centered. I feel informed.
My youngest clients have the least filter. So one young woman said to me, Elle, you helped me find the real me under all the stress. I found the real me. So unlocking people's real potential in the world and the brain trust. Like, what is their brain able to do for the world now? Why is it that over a third of our most highest achieving students at the Ivy League schools are all on medication? That's a problem. That is a problem.
Well, it's a pandemic.
So I'd say that. So my clients tend to be high achievers. I've worked as young as 10 and as old as 80. My 80-year-old was the mother of a gold medal Olympian who found out about me and said, I don't know if you'd help someone who's 80. I said, I would be honored to, right? So you're right. Lots of people, anybody can learn this. This is not rocket science.
The principle is the same, right?
The principle is the same no matter who I'm working with.
Yeah.
It's just digging into what they want. So most people are coming to me because they know there's something better for them. Like they know that they're stuck somewhere and they got to unlock that if they're going to achieve what they want in their life. So I'd say like high achievers, people who feel stuck, people who are high functioning anxiety, high functioning depression, high functioning, anyone who's gotten a diagnosis, GAD, PTSD, like any diagnosis like that, the root of it is the release of these hormones. If we can deal with that, chances are they wouldn't even be diagnosed what they were diagnosed. So the root of it is fight or flight. And so, yeah. But they
And where can we find you?
Excuse me?
Where, do you have a website? Like, where can they find you?
Yeah, so it's just my name, elleingals.com. And I have a YouTube channel with a lot of free content. Feel free to be my LinkedIn friend. I post on there a lot. And to go right to my calendar if you're like, I need to talk to Elle.
I'm going right now.
It's speakwithelle.com. So it's really easy to remember. Speakwithelle.com. And I help people privately. I talk to groups of any size, coach any sort of group and team. And then I have a certification program that is just launching, and I'm opening up 5 more spots because we had the first, and people are like, oh my gosh, more people need this. So I have 5 more spots for a really deep program that teaches you the methods. You can master it and teach it to others. So that's launching too. But and I do work as young as 10. I have a discounted program for youth who are middle school, high school, or college age. And sometimes I work with whole families and I create packages for them. So yeah, I mean, I thought I was going to be an international conductor on the planet, but
Well, you are. You're conducting well-beings.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
You're a well-being conductor.
Thank you. I love that.
Mm-hmm. That's how I see it. So you're just conducting something else.
Exactly. That's what I told my professor just before he passed away. Was like, I'm going to be, because you belong on a world stage. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be on some sort of a stage. It's just a little different than the one that you were training me for.
Yeah, you're there. You're
there. Have you heard of Music of the Heart with Meryl Streep? The movie? It's about, my son's 27.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Beautiful.
She portrayed the violin teacher in East Harlem. Well, my son actually went to one of the charter schools, River East, and the teacher that Meryl Streep portrayed was his actual teacher for violin. But you're orchestrating Music of the Heart.
Yeah.
Like that's how I'm like when you said that you're still in it. But that's
yes. And I wouldn't preclude that I might get on the podium again. Like I got to work with Leonard Bernstein and Kurt Mazur, like the greatest conductors in the world. I've been in their presence. I've been in their green rooms, right? And
well, that's cool right there.
So there's this piece of me. I was just playing my violin yesterday and I'm like, oh my gosh, I know my husband jokes because I'll just start singing some random piece of Stravinsky or something. He's like, what are you singing now? I go, I don't know, honey, but it's still in me. It's still in me. So. Well,
you could, we have a tendency to compartmentalize parts of our life, especially when they're really big and they stand on their own, right? It's like. And so when we think we're moving into another phase, but the beauty of it is almost taking it as an ingredient and making yourself the signature dish.
Yeah.
So that's all part of the signature dish that you are.
Yeah.
And that's been fun and a challenge in my life, being a solo entrepreneur and having many hats and, many different avenues.
Right.
So figuring out so I had this self-concept meltdown at the age, around 40-ish. And I was like, who am I? I just want to be something. And I thought, gosh, if I was told I already was everything I thought I needed to have one definition or degree or validity to be, would I be having this who am I meltdown now? So I wrote a children's book called I Already Am. And it's about a little girl who discovers just through what she's already doing that she already is everything that she thinks she needs to grow up to be. And I thought, well, then I'll just, so now I'm a children's book writer, right? And so, I don't know, it just part of my, one of my ingredients, but that was the book, because it is when you are extraordinary, when you show up extraordinary in life, you don't fit into a defined spot.
No. By the way, you're bringing up something important. Like people say, I don't really fit in. I hear that so much. Like, I don't really fit in. Are we all misfit toys on the planet?
And fit into somebody else's idea of something. It's just that somebody came up with a concept and a title and got a lot of traction, and now you can fit into my file, if you'd like, or my category.
Right. It's so funny. It's so
and
funny.
not to let things so define us. Like if you had succumbed to that anxiety attack and had ran off stage or had given up or had, right, as opposed to standing strong in that power, right, and doing it anyways, and you still did it well, even though in your mind you didn't think you did it well, but then you were going to go through and depict, pull that all apart and say, what was that for? And I'm never going to let that happen to me again. But you took that one step further. I'm never going to let that happen to others either.
Yeah. It's interesting how we challenge ourselves too. Before I had created this method, I was 2010, I created it. In 2008, my faculty chair asked me to perform on a faculty recital. And most of the faculty were using their music. I hadn't played on a recital in years. But I played all over the place, but not a recital. Okay, the small hall, get it? That's a trigger for me. Right? The big hall, fabulous, and small hall.
It's intimate.
Yeah. So I agreed, and the voice in my head said, "You should play." I could play so many pieces with my pianist, who I collaborate with. It would be so great. But my voice said, "No, you should play the unaccompanied Bach you're working on. Very hard piece of music." I'm like, oh. Should I really? I said, okay, I'm going to play it. And then I'm like, it's fine. I can have the music. And then the voice says, no. You're going to play it from memory. I'm like, am I really going to do that? It's been years since I've done the small stage. I already have it as it is a trigger for me. Didn't have that language back then. It was just like thoughts. But I did it. And it was beautiful and really meaningful to work on the piece and to bring it to fruition. So it's interesting what those voices will say. I'm going to say that particular voice was being my friend and opening the possibilities for me, saying, yeah, you're going to do it. You've got this. You can do this. So it's interesting flipping the script. It's the flip the script.
Yeah, flipped your script, girl. And thank you for helping me flip mine. And Susan, I'm thinking that this is the perfect finale.
I'm so glad.
You're the finale of the day. Yay! Okay, and so our mind seed takeaway. So mind seeds and thought weeds. So with the Flip Your Script program, I help people recognize where their thought weeds are taking up space.
Yes.
Recognize, release, pull, and then we have to restore. And what I was finding was so many individuals were so focused on trying to get rid of what they didn't want that they didn't even really remember what they wanted anymore. It was just taking up so much space. So creating a mind seed, and especially in, Susan, too, with the EFT, once you start releasing stuff, you have to fill it with something. Otherwise, the old stuff will grow back.
Yes.
So I ask our beautiful guests to please share a mind seed, which is an intention without resistance.
Yep.
That somebody could plant. You got one? Okay, good.
Got one. Yeah. It's a question.
Okay.
So your brain loves questions. So the stem of these questions, and you create the question you need at the moment, is how can I, or what can I? If it's more than one person, then it's how can we? What can we? So if it's a family, it'd be like, how can we have more peace? How can I solve this? And your amazing brain is going to come up with so many answers if you just relax into it. So the secret sauce is don't try to answer.
Just let your gut out.
Ask the question and let it work on you. And
Do you do that while you're sitting on your hamstrings and let your gut out?
There you go.
Because I'm sitting on my hamstrings right now. I don't have much of a belly because I cut out all my sugar, dairy, and gluten, but what I got's hanging over.
Wow.
But there's one thing, and I know that we're going to wrap up in a minute, but something just downloaded. We are so taught to suck in our gut.
Yes.
I mean, love Sarah Blakely and her husband, Jesse Itzler, but like Spanx, everything's sucked in. And we're basically telling, based on what you're saying, and I could feel the difference when I'm just letting it all hang out, but we're always told the opposite. Correct. So we're actually training or programmed to trigger that stress response.
Yes, we are. Yes.
Can you imagine living in the time with a girdle or whatever where they sucked you in?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what's interesting, think about the dog again. Does a dog spend a lot of time doing sit-ups and crunches?
No.
No. The dog's belly is always relaxed unless they're scared. It's always relaxed. Happy dog, right? Belly is relaxed. Here's how they tone their bellies. They stretch. The moment you stretch, the whole front here and the sides, they stretch, and all that gets activated. So they don't go forward, they go backwards.
So why is downward dog then? It should be the opposite.
Exactly. I actually don't. I am a fan of something called the bowstring yoga because it is very, very tribal and natural and built on how the human body should be flowing.
Bowstring, like a bow of a violin?
Bowstring. Mm-hmm. Yep. And that has changed my life.
Wow.
And my body coach is this woman, Leela Veronica. She actually takes the bowstring and gets it real down to how we humanly move. So there's not a whole lot of jargon around it, but just real clear. I'm like,
just bottom line me.
Yeah, bottom line me. She just taught me how to sit, walk, stand, how to hold my hands, feet, and everything so that everything flows. And I just take the dog analogy because I see that. I look at a healthy mammal other than a human. They don't do sit-ups and crunches. They don't suck in their guts. They're completely relaxed there. The muscles that they're more concerned about are the side muscles.
Mm-hmm.
These muscles holding us in. It's fascinating to play
You've
with.
brought whole meaning to my life.
I know. You don't even know. I love you. I love you. Can I say I love you? Is that too effy for you?
Great. I love it.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. Like truly. I look forward to having conversations. I'm going to go on and set up a chat. Perfect timing. I feel like the universe, it's about intentions. And I want to plant the seed for everybody watching, whether you're watching live right now or you're watching the replay. And I know I have a terrible glare on my glasses, but my eyes are behind here. Set your intention. Because intentions are powerful. And they're priceless. And they're fueled by focus and energy. And if the intention fits on a bumper sticker, you nailed it. If it's longer than a bumper sticker, you have way too much personal what you need to know and how. Get that intention on a bumper sticker and believe that it's possible. Whatever it is. Intention powered by belief. And watch your day change.
Yes. Can I add to that, Elise?
Absolutely.
It's a bit of a mantra that I live by.
Oh, well, yes, we need your mind seed too. I forgot I'm not going to see you tomorrow.
Well, there you go. What do you want? What can you do to get there? What will you do to make it happen? Who are you?
Okay, and then put that on a bumper sticker. Take all of that.
Right? Yes, I can. Yes, I will, because yes, I am.
There you go.
Amen.
Thank you, ladies, so much, Susan. It's been a pleasure to hang out with you this afternoon. Elle, it's been a delight. You're lovely. Are you Scandinavian by any way? In any way?
That's
feel-
so funny. I didn't know for a long time because there's adoptions in my family, but through Ancestry.com, I'm mostly Scottish. My actual hair color is as dark as yours. Okay, so
underneath. Well, my hair color is probably as gray as yours, but this was my color before I helped it. So now I know.
that I am part Norwegian, so that's kind of.
And I lived in Norway for 9 years with my son. So as soon as I saw you, there was a familiarity that kind of settled in the beginning. And you said Michigan. I thought would have been Minnesota. I would have brought up the topic because I know Minnesota, Wisconsin, right? It's very Scandinavian.
Oh yeah, here too. Yeah, a lot of Dutch too here. I'm in Dutch land here, but luckily I have a neighborhood that's fairly multicultural because that's actually important to me. So. Yeah.
Well, you and your family are always invited here to Weeki Wachee as well. It is just a haven. It's an amazing experience, and I think it's magical for us. I mean, I talk about it like it's mine. It really isn't. She found us, and we recognized the life that she still had in her, even though she'd seen a lot in her day. Trust me, she didn't have a very good reputation before we showed up, and she's a gift, and magic happens here.
Wow.
It's amazing. So it is Manatee Landing Retreat, and I welcome anybody to go check out our page because we encourage our guests to share pictures, and they're not guests, they're treats. When you come and stay at Manatee Landing Retreat, we know you're going to be more than a guest, so you're a treat, and when you come back, you get to be a retreat. But our treats, I know it's so cutesy, but it's true. It's so true. So I'm going to tell you really quick. We had a guest to come stay here with their family during Thanksgiving, and some people are in real transition in their life, and they don't know why they really showed up here because we're only on Airbnb. But I know why, because I planted the seed when we bought this place. Well, she came with her mom, and she was going to share her mom's ashes. We have Pine Island Beach, which is right on the Gulf here, and you could just tell that she was talk about like the voice and everything, and she just was a year, and this was their time of transition to kind of really come to life again. We have a bubble party for kids at night, and I had this conversation. I said, listen, your mom's still here. Like, you just have to tune into a different station and connect with her. And so I help people form new relationships in different situations. But anyway, so we had this conversation. That night, there was a bubble party, and she took a picture, and there were huge fluorescent angel wings all over our property. It was a set of wings behind this picture that was like, I got goosebumps already. Like, it was amazing. So I'm telling you to go check it out because the picture was there.
Wow.
And then it was behind her kids that were playing in the bubble party, but these were like on its own, almost like when you go to a 3D movie, and you could see so these huge wings just came up. And we have a handprint building, so everybody leaves their vibe with us, their handprint. And when they left, we weren't there. She left these angel wing handprints with her and her husband in honor of her mom.
Wow.
So we get to see all this magic. So I just want to invite you to come and share the magic.
Oh,
and anyone who's listening, check us out and come because it's just a gift. I didn't know. I thought, we'll flip this old motel and we'll make it an Airbnb. And the story behind it's pretty powerful, but
wow.
Anyway, so if you want to see some magic and you need a little getaway, come.
Okay, I love magic.
Yeah, me too.
And you're in British Columbia. Where are you, Susan?
I'm in Alberta.
Okay.
Nice. We'll come see you too when the border opens.
You're always welcome to come to Canada. If you're here, SusanBinney.com, look me up.
Okay.
For sure. Thank you so much, Susan. We're going to keep it. I think I've already friended you too. Thank you for a beautiful day, you guys. Enjoy. Thank you for sharing all of your gifts with us. And just remember that the possibilities are truly endless when you believe they are.
Beautiful. Thank you.
All right, Corey's the one in charge. So we're on until Corey.